Ineffective monitoring by the regulator is one of the challenges fish farmers are facing. They are calling for an aquaculture policy which they believe will address the many challenges facing the fish farming industry. This has been another episode of News Connect on City TV. My name is Kojo Achman. Let's connect soon.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avle takes the news further. He will bring the right guests, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
What one action have you taken? What one statement have you issued?
Well, we've been issuing statements, even this...
on the specific issue of...
This very one.
Of no bed syndrome. Since you are saying that you've heard this before.
Well, we keep talking.
The Point of View with Bernard Avle, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
Every Thursday night on City TV, you're welcome to join women from different backgrounds and opinions as they weigh in on your relationship issues. Watch Sister Sister as the ladies get real with issues about love, marriage, betrayal, sex, dating, trust, finances, and more.
Sometimes some of the guys are like, oh no, they want to wait before they get married.
So they're little response.
Oh, I'm saying, hold on, lady. What if she does, or they kiss and all of that?
And still nothing.
That's it.
If he really wants you like that.
You see, so it's like,
Join Jessica and her sisters for City TV's all-women talk show, Sister Sister, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, live on 97.3 City FM.
You're in tune to the Breakfast Daily on City TV. Stonebwoy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
And that is the reason I was making the point to him that I refrained from responding to this Joyce Bauer statement. Because if some citizens have accused President Mahama of diverting a certain amount of money, deal with that, deny him, and move on with your life.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
This is a beautiful song. I want you to all the beautiful ladies up in this building. Yeah. Oh no. Sí, sabes que ya llevo un rato mirándote. Tengo que hablar contigo hoy. Vi que tu mirada ya estaba llamándome. Muéstrame el camino que ya voy. Tú eres el imán y yo soy el metal. Me voy astricando, voy a mendolar. Solo con pensarlo se hace el little pulso. Oh yeah, ya me está gustando más de lo normal. Todo mi sentido va pidiendo más. Expliqué tu malo sin ningún apuro. Despacito, Quiero respirar tu cuello despacito. Deja que te diga cosas al ojito. Para que te cuento si no estás conmigo. Despacito. Quiero desnudarte a besos despacito. Toma las paredes de tu laberinto. Yo soy de que por tu manuscrito. Quiero ver balato, pero quiero ser tu ritmo. Que enseñes en mi boca tus lugares favoritos. Que con mi sobrepasar tus zonas de peligro. Hasta provocar tus gritos y que olvides tu apellido. Si te pido beso, dámelo. Yo sé que estás pensándolo. Llevo tiempo intentándolo. Mami, estoy dándolo. Sabe que tu corazón conmigo hace. Sabe que esa hueva está buscando de mí. Me preparé mi boca para ver cómo te sabe. Quiero ver con tu amor a ti te cabe. Yo no tengo prisa, yo me quiero dar el viaje. Empujemos lento, empuje salvaje. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito. Nos vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Cuando tú me rezas, con esa destreza, porque eres mi Alicia con Dolisa. Pasito a pasito, suave suavecito. Nos vamos pegando poquito a poquito. Es que esa belleza, un rompecabezas, pero para matarlo aquí tengo la pieza. Despacito, quiero respirar tu cuello despacito. Deja que te diga cosas al ojito. Para que te cuento si no estás conmigo. Despacito, quiero desnudarte a besos despacito. Firma las paredes de tu laberinto. Y eso de tu que por tu manuscrito. Yeah. Call me the creamy boy. Yeah, from highly spiritual to make you feel better. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Call me the creamy boy. Yeah, from highly spiritual. Yeah, make you feel better. Despacito. Yeah, yeah. Are you ready?
Good morning.
Like when he was singing, right? So, I mean, you know, the moment the song started or the beat started, and then immediately he starts singing, and Jafar and I will look at each other and feel like, whoa, whoa.
That's different.
That was so different. And then I'm looking for his name. I'm looking for Eduardo or Salvo or La Supadora or one of those Cristiano Ronaldo or a name like that. And then I see Karim and I'm like,
that just goes to show how talented he is to not only master a language but be able to sing.
You see, at this point
in that language with their accents too, right? Yes. So it's not like the
yes, like that's what I was looking for, some Spanish name or some Mexican name like that. Yeah, I see Karim and like
he's super talented.
He's really good. He's really good.
Yes.
I don't know, but we have to question the language though.
Why?
We have to question the language. No, at this point, you and I are not sure whether.
No, but I've heard this song so many times.
Yeah,
I think he got it on point, and it must have taken hours upon hours of practice.
Or he probably speaks the language already.
To get it to maybe.
I think we'll talk to him in the course of the program.
And we'll be featuring a lot of young people on the show today. Right, we're celebrating youth excellence, right? Young excellence, and every day we find something to talk about, to rant about. But I think on the 4th day of July, we should really highlight young people and the strides that they are making and their resilience, right, to succeed by any means necessary.
Yeah, it's true. By any good means necessary. Any good means necessary, because there are some young people who are doing illegal things which we will not encourage on the program, clearly. Now, it's important, and I'm really happy at the response of the young people in Ghana right now, because you have successive governments reminding you that it is not the government's job to create employment for you. It's not the government's job to give you employment. It's the government's job to create a business-friendly environment.
Which we really don't have, right? So you can't tell me that you're not going to create jobs for me if you're not creating the enabling environment for me to thrive, right? If people don't have disposable income and I'm creating all kinds of products, they're just not going to buy, and they're going to punish me based on my price points. So if you're not able to set in tariffs and people are flooding our markets with cheap products, how are you really helping me succeed as a young entrepreneur? Right? Exactly. So in as much as we want to highlight the government doing their best to help us grow and telling us all to be entrepreneurial and innovative, you do need to create the enabling environment, and that is empowering your people enough so that they have disposable income to spend.
In the minds of successive governments, and they have made a statement that they make it all the time, that we are creating the enabling environment, or we have created a business-friendly environment. For instance, corporate tax has been reduced, by about 5% or the likes from the previous government to this government. So all these things, they feel like we're doing our best to create the enabling environment. But however, if you speak to those who are trying to start something, many of them, about 80% of them are saying that, it's not really, or about 80% of those we speak to, because I haven't spoken to clearly everybody. But then the fact is that even at our Outlook event, a young man got upset. He started making a soap business, liquid soap business, and then he folded up in a week.
Yeah, because it's difficult, right? Because, I mean, let's talk about soap business. You start your soap, you have to go to Ghana Standards Authority, right? Buy the standards. Once you have that, you have to get it certified. After doing all of these things and you put your stuff on the shelf of the store, you see 10 other people just throw the GSA logo on their products without going through the right processes, and you have to compete with them. And worse off, you have these foreign businesses who have the money to invest in marketing, right? So the Ghanaian consumer is constantly seeing a foreign brand for soap. So when they go out into the market, of course, they're not going to remember your Isaac Wilberforce men's soap.
Exactly.
They're going to remember the foreign brand that's always in their faces.
Nice face,
so I think I do think we need to be a bit more deliberate about how we engage the youth. Like this brilliant young man just sang. If we all had enough disposable income, the first thing you want to say is, where's your album? Let me go buy your album.
Exactly.
Not necessarily come to my album and sing for free for exposure. Come here and sing for free for exposure. And they can't eat with exposure. It's about time we deliberately
put our money where
our mouth is. I think it's you, actually. I don't do that.
One of us like doing that a lot.
I can't stand people who do that, because I feel like the person is talented. They are investing hours and hours every day into perfecting their craft. And the least we can do is actually buy what they have, right, so that they can grow on revenue.
Yeah. So bottom line is that irrespective of what is being said politically or on the macro level, on the government level, them feeling that, or them, by whatever it is they do, being the finance ministry, the business development ministry, all those things, whatever they feel they're doing is not being felt by the ordinary young man or even older person who wants to start a business. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and even the tilapia ban that just happened, right? I read I think yesterday that the local tilapia industry, they are practically begging the government that this is the perfect time for us to revive this industry. You've banned imports of tilapia. Help us really get our products into the faces of the Ghanaian consumer, because we weren't able to compete. What ends up happening is some of these companies, and especially the poultry industry, the countries where we are importing them from, they subsidize their farmers. Right? So their farmers are able to
produce at a cheaper cost.
Yes, sell to us at a cheaper cost. And if you're in a country that's developing, you make every decision based on price points, right? So you don't really go for quality or what's good for you. You just think of what's the cheapest products on the market, which ends up being a public health issue, because if you're buying things that are not necessarily good for you but are cheap, you're going to have to pay for it 20, 30 years down the line when you don't feel well.
I mean, using poultry as an example, chicken. If a regular person, I don't know if women are able to tell the difference, but then if I'm going to buy food, I don't know whether this chicken is local or foreign.
I can tell the difference.
You can tell it. Well,
and even when you go to the market, I think one local chicken, it's about, let's say, 30, 40 cities. You can get a quarter box of an imported chicken for the same amount, right? So when you weigh the two, you're like, if I have a family to feed, am I gonna buy this one chicken, or am I gonna buy the box of chicken? But you don't really know how healthy that chicken is, right? My grandma always used to say, because you don't know when the chicken died, right? But then we also need to empathize with the government, because the same guys that we are trying to put tariffs on are the same people we go for aid from. So I can't come beg you for money and say you're not allowed to bring imports into my country. So we need to be a bit more deliberate about helping our young entrepreneurs.
Clearly, it appears to me that if, for instance, interest rates, the general interest rates at the banks are drastically reduced, like is being enjoyed in the Western countries, our local people will be able to produce for less, it will cost them less to produce, and therefore they'll be able to sell for drastically less. Now, if they sell for drastically less, and any well-thinking Ghanaian goes to the market and sees, let's say, a made-in-Ghana product of a similar quality being sold for, let's say, 5 cedi 50 pesos, and I see a foreign product of which quality I'm not even sure, being sold for 5 cedis 20 pesos, of course I'll go for the made in Ghana product. So as much as possible, our policies, like you're saying, should be deliberate towards allowing the Ghanaian to produce at a lower cost.
Because my fear is we're always celebrating entrepreneurs when they raise money, right? So you see a young person, somebody gave them 20,000 cedis, somebody gave 50,000 cedis, and then you're thinking to yourself, okay, once they produce these things, if the minimum wage in Ghana is 9 cedis a day, or let me even be moderate and say 11 cedis a day, how are they going to buy these products? Right? Because if you don't have disposable income, you cannot buy. And that's the thing that Carl Songs was talking about, that even if I'm making good music, the people who are supposed to be consuming my music are not well off, I also won't succeed. So we have to see how the supply chain connects and how important it is. And we are fortunate enough to have so many talented young people. We're going to talk to the CEO and the CEO of Cow Tribe later on, right? A lot of people are using technology to fix some of these issues, right? When we were growing up, everybody wanted to leave the country. You go to church and people are praying to either go to heaven or go to America or UK, But now I think the new generation, they are proud. They don't want to leave. And they're more daring than us. They have the audacity to think that all these problems, I can actually solve them myself, right? And I can actually use technology to find solutions.
Yeah, I'm very happy that technology is a way out for many of these young people, because ordinarily it would be maybe buy and sell was the regular mind of the person. But now, when you're using technology, ordinarily you don't have to pay for much. You have your regular softwares that you're going to put together to maybe make an app.
Except if you're Ghana Post GPS, then you pay. But nobody heard that.
So you have things that you can just use your mind to do without necessarily putting money into it. That's maybe developing an app and the likes.
Exactly.
Those ones are solid. But then if you want to do a business which would be capital intensive, or you may need some form of capital, your best option is not really the banks. Maybe if you have some family members or friends who believe in your dream and they want to support you financially or invest in your business, that's fine.
But we also need more local VCs. I think we really need to start criticizing, in as much as, yes, you've made your money, you want to drive your Bentley and your Rolls Royce and show off and, have 5 girlfriends or 10 girlfriends, fine. But let's be a little bit more deliberate about, I've succeeded. Let me put a certain percentage of my money aside to encourage the next generation of entrepreneurs to also get to where I am, right? So if successful Ghanaian businessmen and women deliberately said, we're going to all come together, we're going to put this fund out there, we're not only going to train young entrepreneurs, we're going to mentor them, we're going to help them sell their products, right? And we're going to deliberately turn their small businesses into transnational corporations all over the continent. We will all be proud. But what you end up seeing is, I will help my nephew in the village or my niece in the village. We don't have this each one teach one culture, and I think we really need it for these young, gifted entrepreneurs to succeed.
And one advice that I have for young people, or just Ghanaians in general, is that you shouldn't always, many people, like you're saying, people go to church, and sometimes, so I blame the pastors a bit.
Really?
Sometimes. Yeah, you go to churches and then they'll be like, during the time they're making prophecies, they're like, you go to America, you go to, then the person becomes so happy, like it's a blessing.
Success, yeah.
No, let's try and solve things here. Let's be wherever we are. If you want to start a business, I believe strongly, you identify first the needs of society or the needs of wherever that you can, find yourself or get access to. Once you identify the need, you'll be able to develop a solution.
Yes.
So your focus primarily should be developing a solution. When you develop a solution, the money would naturally follow.
But that works in an ideal world, right? But in Ghana, some of our young people don't become entrepreneurs because they want to. It's because they are desperate. They can't find jobs. They are hungry. Your family, your mom and dad, they've spent so much to put you through school, and you're just home. So when you're forced into entrepreneurship, and someone is expecting you to succeed, but you're relying on it for your daily bread, it's difficult, right? It's difficult to say, because entrepreneurship is that you're serving the public. Just like you said, I find a problem. Isaac Wilberforce is always wearing a foreign tie. Now, let me give him a solution, a local tie.
Yeah.
But if he's so used to equating everything Western to quality, it might take him 5 years to finally put on my tie. Do I have that 5 years to wait to acquire this one customer, right? And that's why it's important for our local entrepreneurs to have buffer, right? I think we're going to speak to a young woman from Ashesi. She got a full scholarship to the school. MEST also does it. Impact Hub, Accra, iSpace. They kind of give you that buffer you need to go through the process. And I think we need to do a bit more of that so that they can actually succeed and not be forced to do anything because they are desperate and they don't have any money.
So last night, for instance, I got a call from a young man. He mentioned the name of his company. Anyway, Kwesi Minka. So one Kwesi Minka calls me and then he's telling me about, he watches the show Breakfast Daily and he really likes the program. And I said now he's in Mauritius and he heard about the program and he's very excited. And now he tells me about what he does. And he's so young, and when he's listing the number of companies he has under his belt and where he was even before, he was working in a bank. You know, he was like head of operations or training or whatever at 2 different banks at the same time. And this was when he was below the age of 30.
Wow.
And then he decides, you know what, I don't want to work in the bank anymore. I want to start something. And now he's going around, he's trying to identify problems on the continent. And now he's in Mauritius doing same with, and he was in Senegal. He said he went to see the president of Senegal.
Wow, okay.
And he's talking about how the environments in many of these countries are so relaxed. And he was in Sierra Leone. Now he's doing gold and diamond businesses in Sierra Leone. He buys from the small scale miners and then he sells it to, consumers or ready to buy offloaders. He puts them in UK and Dubai. So this is someone who's identified. Now he noticed that in Ghana this business is dangerous. This business is not really. I mean, he has a concession and the like, saying that I still don't want to do it in Ghana because of XYZ. And now we are having problems with Galamsey and the like. So let me just stay away from this till it's settled. You understand? Let's stay away from this till it's settled. And it just prompts me, okay, so there's a ban on small-scale mining. Small-scale mining in itself is not illegal. It's Galamsey that is illegal. Illegal mining is illegal. So, he just makes you think about how many Ghanaians are, or how many young people are actually willing to do something. He may have had help in his young age, and he's able to do these things. But then many people do not have the help. I'm looking for an ideal situation where interest rates are probably at 3%, and you see the wonderful things the young minds will be doing in this country.
And I must say, I thank the new administration for giving tax breaks to every entrepreneur below the age of 35. Right? So if you're below the age of 35, you're able to do a lot without being taxed, but it's not enough. I think we have such wealth of talent on this continent, and you can tell because once the person makes it out of Africa, the sky is their limit, right? But they shouldn't have to leave to have their dreams come true. They should be able to succeed right here, and we're so happy that this young man is singing in Spanish for us, right? I think one of the most important things is also to be able to differentiate yourself. Right? So if you came here and he sang in Tree, maybe we all know English. We all know English. But if you pick Spanish or Hausa or Ewe or Dagomba or Swahili. It's different, right? Yeah. So people pay attention instantly.
Yeah, speaking of singing in Dagomba.
Are you going to sing in
No, I want to give shout outs to Fancy Gadam. You know, Fancy Gadam is the only artist I know who can make an English song sound like Dagomba.
I love Fancy Gadam though, yeah. and I'm so sad that they are blaming this accident on him. I think it's not. I don't think it's his fault. He can make an English song sound like Dagomba. I like him. I like Fancy Gadam. He's good. Anyway, I guess we didn't introduce ourselves again.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do the honors.
My name is Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah.
Well, say good morning first. Say how are you?
I'll say good morning. Okay, so my name is Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah.
And I am Jifa Ekia Amatam. Thank you guys so much for spending your morning with us, right? And it's a beautiful day. The sun is not too out. It's breezy.
I like the weather. I even wanted to say this. I'm praying that the way the weather has charged this morning, we are praying that if it rains, we are praying and praying and praying that we don't want to wake up tomorrow morning to see on the front page 6 people die, 5 people die. We are praying for that, and we are still reminding the government that it shouldn't be a norm. Every year, flood is okay. We should find a strong solution. If it's about buildings being put in waterways, let us compensate those who have, good compensation for those who have built their buildings there. If it's illegal, we have to look at those things clearly, and then compensate them, break those buildings, let the waters flow so that there will be no longer, any of these stories. No more floods, no more floods. Enough.
Yes. So on today's show, we have a packed show for you guys, right? So in the news review, which we are going to go into next, what are the top stories?
Well,
today?
Yesterday, Kennedy Japan was supposed to have appeared before the Privileges Committee for the hearing, but apparently the hearing has been suspended.
Why?
Yes, apparently, so counsel for Kennedy Japan, lawyer, he's also member of parliament for Efutu, Afenyo Markins, Honorable Afenyo Markins, went before the committee with a letter excusing a few members, or saying some members of the committee, about 3 members of the committee.
Don't give it all away.
Well, fortunately, we have 2 members who are on the committee.
Nice.
They'll be joining us for the news review. They'll be giving us more details.
Cool. So we're gonna hear all the details that we didn't get yesterday.
The solid details from both sides.
And later on, we're going to talk to the recipients of the Queen's Young Leaders Award. Right, 3 young Ghanaians were honored by the Queen, and we're going to hear 2. I think one lady, she's brilliant. She's a graduate of Ashesi. I think she got the presidential award, and she's going to be here with us. She's a co-founder of Cow Tribe. So we're going to learn her story and be inspired and see what's possible in this country. Do not forget to join the conversation using the hashtag BreakfastDaily. Okay, let us know your questions, your concerns, your comments. Just send them all our way, and we'll read them. And the WhatsApp line is
0550-585-832.
Yes.
0550-585-832. So remember, you can join us, like she said, on all social media platforms with the hashtag BreakfastDaily. So keep your comments coming in. We shall read them shortly. Packed morning. We are with you till 10 o'clock. Stay tuned to Breakfast Daily. Do not go anywhere.
Good morning, Ghana. Good morning, world. You're in tune to the Breakfast Daily on City TV. Stonebwoy says so. Keep it locked. Don't log off. Beep.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you. 30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guest, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
What one action have you taken? What one statement have you issued?
Well, we've been issuing statements, even this...
on the specific issue of...
This very one.
Of no bed syndrome. Since you are saying that you've heard this before.
Well, we keep talking.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
They say, why you they love them like this? Oh, I don't know. Hi, everyone. It's Miss V. Make sure you keep watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Don't go anywhere. Tiptoe swag.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us. We're going to delve right into the news review, starting with the Ghanaian Times. Government cuts sword for the construction of Pokwase interchange. That story is on page 17. Ghana, US to break new grounds as two countries sign new deals today. That story is also on page 16, and there's a picture here of the President and the US Secretary of Commerce. Former Vice President Emisa Arthur to be given state burial. Flags to fly at half-mast. That is on page 17.
Well, the Daily Graphic also has it here this morning that EC boss's dismissal. Woman challenges processes. The full story of that is on page 3 this morning of the Daily Graphic, as well as Pokwase interchange to begin. Full story on page 53. And finally, U.S. Secretary of Commerce visits Ghana.
In the Informer, Parliament a disaster in corruption fight, says legislature is protecting its own corrupt members. That story is on page 3. Ken Japan hot as accused state attorney threatens court action. That is on page 4 and is related to the ANAS number 12 expose versus Who Watches the Watchman. EC boss removal a plot. That is from Kweku Bako, and the story is on page 5.
Okay, the new crusading guide. Chinese galamseyers raid Bibiani. DC MP stand accused. And also work begins on Pokwase interchange. Now NPP ready for delegates conference. And finally, flags to fly at half-mast for 5 days as President announces state burial for the late Emisa Arthur.
In the Daily Guide, Pokwase interchange ready in 2020. Attorney General sued over Charlotte Osei. And Otunfo's wife OK's Kumasi mayor. And finally, drama at Kennedy's trial. Yes.
Interesting. The Chronicle has it here this morning that treasonable comments over EC boss removal arrest NDC warmongers, NPP tells police. The full story is on page 2 and 3 or pages 2 and 3 of the Chronicle. There's a picture here of John Boydu. He's the acting general secretary of the NPP as he makes this at an event where he was addressing the press on same. And Kennedy Ejapong wins round 1 is how the story puts it this morning on the front page of the Chronicle. Government sued over Charlotte Osei's removal. And finally, GAS here to sanction indicted Ejusuman teachers.
In the Daily Statesman, 4 nominated for Supreme Court. That story is on page 2. Osei faces possible prosecution and lawsuits raised over removal from office, also on page 2.
Okay. Daily Heritage says here that battle lines drawn over sacked EC boss as private citizen sues EC. And finally, all set for NPP Congress weekend.
In the Finder, AG sued over removal of Charlotte Osei from office. Nanado nominates 4 new Supreme Court judges. Historian seeks UK government's apology for forced wartime conscription of Ghanaians. That story is on page 20. And release Kelny GVG documents. That's coming from the court. And ITLOS, it lost.
Yeah, that's fine.
It lost $254 million cost, hits 10 partners. But Tullow examines options, including appeal. And there's a picture here of Kweku Awotri, who is the MD of Tullow Ghana.
Okay, finally, The Independent. Ghana Bar Association warns public against unwarranted attack on members. And finally, Class Media Group to fix 95 faulty ambulances. Remember that, well, we are still hoping that these ambulances will just not be transport vehicles, but also fully equipped for emergency medical services.
And in the Gold Street business, little transparency in RE funds management. That is on page 3, and that's related to Renewable Energy Fund. Government borrows $1.25 billion for new spending. That is on page 2. And Mortgage and Housing Initiative targets 1 billion Ghana cedis housing fund. That is coming from the finance minister, and the story is on page 2.
Okay, so you can join us on all social media platforms with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. And of course, you can send us a message via WhatsApp on 0550-585-832, 0550-585-832.
There are a few stories on City Newsroom that I would like us to look at. So AG sued over removal of Charlotte Osei from office. City Newsroom. Kwachi Ofosu sues Deputy EC Commissioner over $6 million gift allegations. And then finally, release documents on GVG deal in a week. Court orders the government.
So we'll look at that stories, but before now, we'll introduce our guest for the news review segment for today. We have been joined by Honorable Member of Parliament for Bongo, and he's also a member of the Privileges Committee. Honorable Edward Bawah, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Daily.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here with us. We've also been joined by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Sekondi, who is also a member of the Privileges Committee. You're the Vice Chairman of the Privileges Committee.
Yes, I am.
Yes, he is in the person of Honorable Andrew Kofi Ejapa Mensah. Good morning and welcome to Breakfast
Good morning.
Daily.
It's a pleasure to be here.
It was a pleasure to have you.
So we'll start with the first story. AG sued over removal of Charlotte Osei from office, and I'm reading from citynewsroom.com. A Ghanaian, Fafali Nyonato, has sued the Attorney General over the removal of the Electoral Commission chairperson Charlotte Osei. In a suit filed on Tuesday, she's asking the court to declare that the committee set up by the Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Akofo, to investigate separate complaints brought against the 3 commissioners at the Electoral Commission exceeded their powers by recommending the removal of the commissioners, and that their recommendation in the report be declared null and void.
To start with you, Honorable Bawah.
Okay, so let me say a very good morning to your viewers. I've never been to this studio.
Welcome. I think it's both of you first.
Yes, it's my first time here as well.
Welcome.
It looks okay. Very well compared to other studios I've gone into. Maybe because it's new.
Just okay, not extraordinary.
Oh no, it's okay. I mean, I'm happy about it. Yeah. I think it's an improvement of it. It shows that the business is booming. Moving from
the background is pretty exciting. The mixture of old and new.
But now to the main issue. I'm not surprised that today we hear that somebody's gone to court to challenge the decision to remove the Electoral Commissioner from office. It is because of the fact that this case in itself was, in a way, thrown in so much controversy, even from its inception. You recall that when the petitioners, the quote-unquote petitioners, petitioned the president, there were few challenges that people had with the petition. This was a petition that was not signed, a petition that had no date. And in the words of the president and his surrogates, where they describe the president in such circumstances as just being a conveyor belt. And so all he needed to do was just to take the petition and take it to the Chief Justice to start the process. The president, in his own wisdom, felt that he needed to call the petitioners and the counsel for the petitioner to come and right the wrong that they had seen in the petition. Now, the only thing the lawyer did was to provide names and then, of course, edit to that. The thing went to the Chief Justice. But, of course, by virtue of the fact that over a period of time we have practiced some level of democracy, I mean, we're in the 26th or 27th year now. And so what it tells you that some of these cases are not new in themselves. There have been cases that have happened before, and the Supreme Court has ruled on some of them. I am not a lawyer. I have a background in chemistry. But at least we all can read. Still remember what Professor Modibo Okran said, that a legally improper petition is no petition. And this was in the Ajay Chung's case that has been cited almost every newspaper you read. But the Chief Justice found it necessary to still go on with the case. During the hearing itself, it was very clear that the supposed petitioners were nowhere to be found. Apart from the George Ampofo, what's his name again? The Ampofo guy who came and then gave the, what they call it, the testimony. Yeah. And he had even demonstrated a very clear lack of knowledge of the content of the petition. But what was more serious was the fact that at the time they were writing the petition, one of the petitioners was diseased. And so to see that you have a petition that did not even have petitioners to defend their position, in itself put some question marks on that. But when you go back and you ask the president over why he had to go get the council to come and do, he said it was just a conveyor belt, then you see some level of hypocrisy. Why do I say so? On the 13th of February 2017, there was one Ernest who petitioned the president to remove the then Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, over certain allegations he had made. The president never sent it to anywhere. It stayed at his home. Meanwhile, there was record of receipt of that, if it was supposed to be a conveyor belt. This year, February.
And you have proof of this?
Yes. This year, February.
You didn't bring it.
Can I just make my point? This year, February, the elders of La also petitioned the president for the removal of the sitting Chief Justice.
But do you have proof of all these?
All these things are in public domain. Every day, and I've mentioned names, I've given identities of people who have petitioned the president. Let them say it is not true. There's record of receipt. These people have been on almost every platform, as it were, talking about this. But nobody answers to them. And it's just because of the fact that the president, in his own way, if he's supposed to be a conveyor belt, must take this there. So if you look at the circumstances surrounding these things, it is only obvious that you will have somebody going to court to challenge some of these things. That being said, you see, one of the reasons why Ghana, unlike other countries, do not go to war after elections, we don't kill each other after elections, is because of the fact that we tend to have confidence in the institutions that carry out elections. We can have our differences in one way or the other, but they are not fatal ones. And so on the basis of that, we tend to, as it were, recognize the activities of the institutions that organize elections for us. If you have a situation where somebody who was appointed legally, it's done in 2015, and you have leading members of a political party making pronouncements to the effect that this person was a danger to our elections, this person must not be made to succeed. And few months after that, that party comes into power, and you have situations like this. You cast doubt on the whole process of elections and bodies that are responsible for running such elections. So beyond even the legal aspect of it, the health and security of this state is at risk by virtue of the fact that you cast doubt on the integrity of the body that's supposed to superintend over elections.
Amazing. Sorry.
And so,
are you fully aware that the lady in question, the woman in question, Madame Charlotte Osei, has not denied any of these allegations against her?
The fact that she has not said anything to you.
No.
When you say denied, what do you mean?
She has not denied these 6 allegations or procurement breaches leveled against her.
I'll come there.
She has not denied any.
I'll come there. The fact that you tell me today that I have infringed on any of the traffic regulations, and I say yes, it's true, because I was driving while talking on phone. Does not necessarily mean that you sentence me to death. But that is not a penalty for it. And indeed, it has been one of the arguments that have been made by many people, not me, maybe let's say people from my political party, but many people. But look, there are prescriptions given for infringing on procurement laws in this country, and it does not include removal from office.
Yes, but you know that the title of Article 146 is removal from office. So these provisions in Article 146, in reliance on which the committee sought to remove Madame Charlotte Osei, these prescriptions, they made findings of fact that according to the procurement laws of the country, you did not follow the procurement laws. For instance, when I read the full report, you see instances where the lady in question, Madame Charlotte Osei, former EC boss, would complain or would make complaints to the PPA concerning the signing of certain contracts by her deputies, which did not follow the procurement laws. And then she, the same person, after those contracts were terminated, she, the same person, would do the exact same sole sourcing to award these contracts. So an act which you complained of, you go back, for which the act was terminated because it was improper. You go back and you do the same action, and
I think you don't have the grasp of even the issues. It's not about sole sourcing, because sole sourcing itself is
no, it's about 6 procurement breaches.
No, I'm saying that sole sourcing in itself is not criminal.
There are instances, according to Act 663, okay, and also the amendment, Act 914, I believe, the amendment to the Act. There are instances where you can sole source, and in those instances where she was alleged to have breached the provisions of the law, she sole sourced where she was not supposed to sole source. You sole source in certain conditions, where, for instance,
the issue is not about sole sourcing. The issue is about approval from PPA. That is what the issue is. It's not about sole sourcing. It's about approval from PPA to sole source. That is where the problem is. But my argument is that even with that, if there were breaches of those things, the law itself prescribes penalties for that. And it does not include removal from office, particularly for an officer who is at the same level as a police court judge. It is not part of the prescriptions. There are remedies provided in terms of ratification of those particular contracts, what do you call it, cancellation of the contracts, and etc. But it does not include removal from office. And so the argument I'm making is that even the decision itself is just because there has been a predetermined decision, as it were, as to what we want to do.
Okay.
And I'm telling you that there's a historical antecedent to that. If you look at the pronouncements of the current president and his surrogates when they were in opposition about the appointment of this woman, if you look at the circumstances under which this petition was sent to the Chief Justice, even at the time when we all knew that it was defective, that is where the challenge is.
We'll get back to you now. Lawyer Mensah, please.
Well, good morning. Good morning to my very good but mischievous friend.
And I did Google what you said. There's a story here on Ghana Web, February 13th, that says a driver petitioned Nana Addo for the removal of the Chief Justice for incompetence.
The former Chief Justice.
The former Chief Justice.
And of course, good morning to our cherished viewers this morning. I thought that we're going to discuss the case that has been filed in court regarding reliefs that the lady is seeking. But of course, my brothers on the other side are fixated in drawing the NPP government into this Charlotte Osei removal issue. And so we'll deal with it, because I'm not scared to deal with the issues at all when they think that they want to remain there. You see, it's mind-boggling and he said here that people have canvassed that because there are prescriptions for breaches of the law in the Procurement Act, it does not warrant or does not trigger other consequences other than the invocation or application of the Procurement Act. Strange. Unbelievable proposition. When they know, in fact, the lawyers amongst them who know that an act or an omission, a single act or omission, can trigger multiple legal consequences and impinge on multiple laws, including the Constitution. You sit here and say, what? That if you breach the procurement law, then the sanctions applicable is contained only in the procurement law. Which law is that? Which application of the rules lead to that conclusion? But it's convenient. So that's what they would articulate. Forgetting that they owe a duty. That they cannot politicize everything. We sit here because we are relatively privileged. And it's our duty to educate and inform. So if you breach the procurement law, for instance, and that breach leads to causing financial loss to the state, you cannot be charged under the criminal code of this country. And that's what they want you and I to believe. That if you breach the procurement law, and that clearly demonstrates your incompetence to occupy a particular office, as contained in Article 146, nobody can bring a petition under Article 146 to remove you from office. What kind of logic is this? Why do we do this to ourselves as a nation? I don't get it. And I'm emotional because, you see, we do things to ourselves that retard the progress of this country. In any event, when Mr. Mahama applied this same law to remove Loretta Lamte, where were they? They didn't find anything wrong with it. Did Loretta Lamte's act, was it a core mandate of Shraj that she had breached? Or she went to rent a building? Is renting a building the core mandate of Shraj? Yet they turn around conveniently to say that, well, the woman did not breach any of the functions of the Electoral Commission. And so you should punish her under the Procurement Act. When Loretta Osei or Loretta Lamte breached administrative procedures in acquiring or renting a property, was removed from office, and that was okay by them. Look, they have sought to raise all sorts of issues about the petition and the fact that His Excellency the President is a conveyor belt.
No, what did you say that? You said that. We are just...
no, he says you are raising issues with that fact that he's a conveyor belt.
Let's focus on the topic we're discussing is Mrs. Fafali Nyonato.
Oh, but you allowed him to pontificate extensively on the propriety or otherwise of the petition that had been submitted to the office of the president. You didn't stop him. So please, let me deal with it. I'll come to this lady's action in court. And look, to the extent that I'm an ardent believer in the rule of law, unlike his view on why it is the case that somebody will challenge this action, I think it's useful for enriching our democracy. Okay? Now, they've raised all sorts of issues. Now, I, as counsel, is engaged by persons to act on their behalf. That look, there are certain infractions that I have observed in my organization that I think that the head ought to be removed. Can you do a petition on our behalf? So the lawyer draft the petition on their behalf, writes a letter and submit it to the office of the president. It turns out, and the lawyer's address was contained in the documentation that was sent. So, office of the president acknowledges the letter and say, look, this document that you sent to us has no name and or date. Can you furnish us with the name or the date of the persons who wrote this petition? You say it's defective. How is that defective? How?
There's a Supreme Court ruling on that.
And that what?
Go on.
You see, so there is no doubt whatsoever in any event. When Mrs. Osei was appointed, like most appointments that are made in this country, people speak about them. People raise objections. People raise issues. And why not? We are not entitled to raise issues. We are not entitled to question the appointment. We are not entitled to question the competencies of the person who is being appointed to the role. But regardless of all those commentary, Mr. President, who had the power, went ahead to appoint her. She presided over an election that we won in opposition. Convincingly, overwhelmingly. And you say that what? Because of that, because we raised issues about the appointment, that we designed a plan at the time to remove her at all costs. When she was writing the letter to Yoko against her deputies, I held her hand to write that letter. I, Andrew Mensah, held Mrs. Osei's hand to pen the letter to Yoko. Other commentators have said clearly that they brought this thing to themselves. So, you've heard, or that I'm unhappy with you at home, and I say I'll punish you. You run outside, or you go playing whatever, and you get injured, and you say because I said I was going to punish you, the injury that you suffered is because I said so. Come on, man. Please, give us some credit. Give the people of Ghana some credit.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Mensah.
You cannot determine
Honorable Mensah.
How
Honorable Mensah,
the
Minister of Information said that. Honorable Mensah, please. The Minister of Information said that the recommendations or the report, has been forwarded to the Attorney General. But I noticed from the recommendations of the committee that they did not recommend prosecution. Why does this not seem a bit vindictive on the part of the NPP to go ahead and forward same to the AG?
You see, if she's been charged, we can have that conversation. But the fact that findings of fact have been made against her that clearly borders on criminality, if you like, that's not stop the Attorney General from filing criminal proceedings against her. Nothing stops the Attorney General from doing so. Unless you want to say that, well, removing her from office is sufficient enough punishment for the allegations that were leveled against her or the offenses that she's committed, and so we should let her go. If that's your argument, fine. But I don't think anybody would want to argue that way. Look,
so really quickly on the case before the court, yes,
Kafali. Yeah, like I said, to the extent that I'm an ardent believer in the rule of law, it is proper for people who feel that some wrongdoing has been occasioned, some constitutional breaches have occurred, to go to court and ventilate their issues for the court of law to make a determination.
Okay.
But wearing my hat as a lawyer, I wonder what really her locus would be in this matter. But, well, that's for the court to determine whether she's properly clothed with the capacity to bring an action.
She's seeking constitutional interpretation, so she should have the capacity.
That what?
That Article 146 on misbehavior and incompetence, the committee do not have the original jurisdiction that the Supreme Court has in Article 130 to interpret same, what those two words mean. That's what she's going to court on.
Well, I wish her luck.
Okay. Well, we'll go for a quick commercial break. And when we return, we'll be looking at stories
I thought I will be giving it.
When we come back
we'll
from
move
the
on
break.
to the next
But we'll move on to the next story in relation to what happened yesterday at the Privileges Committee. And you'll be giving us more details of same. So people can contact us through...
Yes, the WhatsApp line 0550-585-832, 0550-585-832, and the hashtag Breakfast Daily. We've received some of your comments, and I'll read them when we're back.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you. 30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Jealousy go shame against the bad boy. Jealousy go shame. Whoa. What's up, guys? Your boy Kitty, and right now you are watching Breakfast Daily. Oh, Lord of mercy. Let's go.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily. Now, read a bunch of your messages and we'll continue the news review. Ahmed Zaman Lafia says, we can never succeed as a country if we let our emotions and sentiments lead us. Are we trying to say we don't have confidence in our judiciary again? What Charlotte Osei did is unpardonable. She has breached the laws of procurement, so she has to go. So that comment is coming from Ahmed. And this comment is from Pajo of Big Shoe. Good day, boss. I can't think far. AG sued over Charlotte Osei's removal. Very funny. So where were the petitioners when President Mahama sacked the then Shrag boss? We live to see, but I applaud President Akufo-Addo's government for good governance. Hi to Mami Soja from Kwadaso. So keep the comments coming, keep the messages coming, and we'll read them as we go. The hashtag again is Breakfast Daily.
Okay, so yesterday on the floor of Parliament, before the Privileges Committee, I want a good account of what is actually happening, because we are seeing different reports from the many papers out there. So I'll start with you.
No, let's start with
the Vice Chairman. Yes, I'll start with the Vice Chairman.
Depending on what he says, then I was just...
You're taking defense now?
Honorable Mesa, please.
Well, what happened was this. I mean, when the committee session began, if you like, for the public hearing, after Honorable Muntaka Mohammed had been administered to an oath. Just before he began his testimony, Honorable Afenyo Markin, who announced himself as counsel for Honorable Kenny Japan, indicated that he had some preliminary legal issues, and as it is with normal practice, he was given an opportunity to raise those preliminary issues. He said that, as far as they were concerned, the jurisdiction, if you like, of the Privileges Committee had not been invoked properly, because Honorable Muntaka came under Order 91 and also Order 78 of our standing orders, which required that when you raise a point of order, that some contempt of Parliament is occurring, and you then proceed to invoke or move a motion without notice, the motion ought to be seconded before a debate ensued, leading to a decision, and that even the motion had not been seconded. So the invocation of the jurisdiction of the Privileges Committee had not been done properly. Second, that some members of the committee had made comments that clearly prejudiced or had the likelihood of prejudicing the outcome of the investigation. And he raised the third objection. I do not recall that immediately.
I think in relation to some of the members of the committee may have maybe biased.
No, that's the second point.
That's the second point you raised.
The third, what was the third issue?
No, actually there were three. The third one was then the letter for withdrawal.
There were four of them. He raised three issues and then indicated that they were in copy of a letter that had been written by some members of the committee. And that if that was the case, then the committee could not proceed because Order 1644 of our standing orders clearly provides that when any member indicates his or intention to recuse himself from the proceedings of the hearing, the chairman of the committee was duty-bound to terminate the hearing and then refer the matter to the speaker to, as it were, appoint, in consultation with the leadership of the political party where the members belong, substitutes in their place. Now, we conferred amongst ourselves, leadership of the committee, and we're of the view that the legal objections that he had raised were not ones that could be sustained. And so the chairman ruled and dismissed the objections, including the fourth one relating to the
members
letter
that recused themselves.
Absolutely. Purely on the basis that that letter was not before the committee. K.T. Hammond then came in to say that, look, this was fundamental and that there was a mandatory provision in our order which necessarily ought to be activated following the submission of the letter. During that interval, one of the members who had signed the letter presented it to the clerk, who then brought it to the attention of the chairman and the leadership of the committee. The chairman asked that the clerk makes copies for everybody and asked the clerk to confirm whether the contents of what K.T. Hammond had was the same as what she had received. And when she confirmed, at that point, of course, the letter was before the committee. And so we were bound to, as it were, trigger 1644 and suspend the hearing until the committee was properly constituted to enable us proceed with the determination of the matter. I'm not sure I've omitted anything, but if my good friend thinks that there's been some omission, of course he can.
I think that basically he's captured exactly what happened. I believe the two of us would have been very excited if we were not to be discussing this issue today. But in terms of exactly what happened, I think it was even shown live on television, so everybody saw it. That there were some objections that were made. One, that the motion was not seconded. Two, that some people had made some comments that were prejudicial to the case itself. I think the other one, he just explained the same point. Then the one that was the major one had to do with the fact that three members of the committee, who also happened to be members of the Central Region Caucus, felt that Kennedy Japan, being their chairperson of the caucus, they were not sure they would be very unbiased in the determination of the case. And so they were asking to the committee to help them recuse themselves, as it were, from the committee's work. And per our laws, what it simply means is that the committee will have to go back to Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
And the Speaker will have to consult the parties where these people come from for replacements. The reason is not purely on basis of quorum. It's because if you look at Parliament, we have different numbers, and therefore the committees are constituted based on proportions. So the moment a member, whether it's the minority or majority, goes out, it affects the proportion, and therefore affects just the workings of the committee. So if it was just a matter of quorum, we could have actually continued with the work, but it was just because with the individuals recusing themselves of the works of the committee, at least for this case, it was only fair that the parties where they come from, the parties will get replacements for that case to be done. So,
okay. Well, many Ghanaians were seeking the determination of this issue, as in allegations of utterances made by Kennedy Agyapong, which Muntaka and quite a few members of Parliament find offensive. And because of, for instance, what happened yesterday, there are some people who feel Parliament protect their own. So I'm even relating it to a story by or on page 3 of The Informer, which says Parliament a disaster in a corruption fight, and Vice Azim is saying that the legislature, they are protecting its own corrupt members. I'm reading just a few lines from here.
There's no need to even proceed.
You feel his claims
are utterances that are an issue. How is it related to corruption?
No, but related to the fact that Parliament protects their own in general.
I'm coming. How is the utterances that Honorable Kennedy Agyapong is alleged to have made, how is it related to corruption?
So we're talking about Parliament as a whole, not
no,
just
I'm coming. How? I just want to know. How? How is it related to corruption?
Well, the thing emanated from is relating to statements he made in respect of the number 12, which is in relation to corruption. You would agree?
But you see, it seems to me that people are not listening to what Kennedy Agyapong is saying. Okay, and I should be very cautious.
I just wanted to tell you to be cautious.
But of course, I mean, the issue before the committee is not on number 12. And so I think that I can speak to number 12.
Please.
What he's saying is that, look, it's not against corruption, but the individual who is conducting this investigation and damaging the reputation of others himself has questions to answer. And that he is in possession of tapes that was made by they themselves and his team that clearly put him in a certain light. And so he thinks that those things ought to be exposed for people to draw down their own conclusions. How does that amount to Parliament protecting its own, not committed to the fight against corruption? I don't get it.
I think that you say on this particular case, I think the committee has not even gone into the merits or otherwise of the allegations. These are clearly procedural issues that have come up. And as Parliament, we work within laws. There are two major documents we use, the Constitution of Ghana and the Standing Orders. And therefore, all our activities must be confined to these two documents. And so, any action that goes outside of that, as much as possible, we tend to make sure we avoid that. So, we've not gone into the merits of the case. And so, to indicate that an adjournment of this case to make sure that everything is done right before we go into it, in itself, it's not protecting anybody. But that is true. Take that off. And as my colleague said here, we are not determining what the facts of number 12. It's about a pronouncement, an alleged pronouncement made by a member. That, in the view of the House, think that it's an affront to the dignity of the House, and therefore the committee should investigate and ascertain the veracity of those allegations.
Okay.
That is what we are dealing with. But the issue of number 12 and in terms of corruption and other things, and I will tell you, I have my own opinion about Kennedy Japan, not in privileged committee, but Kennedy Japan on number 12. And his supposed expose, excuse my language, is meant for the dustbins. I mean, you shouldn't give it any. I mean,
the video Who Watches the Watchman.
Who Watches the Watchman. So what came out of that thing? What came out of that thing? Apart from doctrine and making voices, I mean, what came out of that thing? And so, look,
you feel it was doctored?
You know that. Everybody who
I don't know that.
You didn't see that. You didn't see that.
It was doctored.
Oh yeah, not only do I feel it was.
Okay.
Now, you see, and you see, but the point I just want to make is that look, as Ghanaians, I really feel also. I mean, sometimes if somebody is wrongly accused, it's something that I mean you don't realize how it is until you are wrongly accused of something. Yeah. And so I don't. I equally.
Exactly
No, I'm coming. I'm coming.
You are accusing the man of having doctored.
That's why
I do not have any view.
You see, because I'm on live TV, there are words I would have used. Because I'm on live TV.
If you have information, put it out.
You see, I think that's the country. We have had institutions that are supposed to fight corruption. Those institutions are not functioning to the expectations of Ghanaians.
Okay.
Either because of human capacity, in terms of human capital, or maybe even in terms of even just resources to ensure that these people work and work well.
Yeah.
But we've had an individual who has decided to say that I'm going to wage a crusade and ensure that these very untoward behavior are brought to the light. I mean, just throwing some sunlight on them for us to discuss them.
Okay.
The fact that we discussed, look, let me tell you, just the expose that we had.
I don't want us to go too much into the
but I'm just trying to make
a story that I feel we should look at.
I'm more interested in that one.
But if we segue into announced matters, it might take all
the point I just wanted to make was that individuals like that should be encouraged.
Okay.
And that's all
we can end on that point. Okay. Now there's the next story.
So there's a story here on citynewsroom.com. Release documents on GVG deal in a week. Court orders the government. So an Accra High Court has ordered the Communications Ministry to make available all documents relating to the controversial revenue monitoring deal between the government and Kelny GVG to 2 citizens and pressure group Citizens Ghana Movement. The court gave the ministry a deadline of July 9th to comply with the order. Now, the communications officer of the coalition, Abdul Hussein, in an earlier interview with City News, said that one of the specific requests we made was to get all material information and supporting documents relating to the procurement process leading to the award of the contract to Kelny GVG. The coalition made a 6-point demand to the ministry, only for the ministry to reply saying they are in the process of locating the document.
Okay, we'll start with your honorable mention on this one.
Well, as a lawyer, I mean, for me, this is not a big deal at all.
You feel it's not a big deal?
That the court has made an order for the document.
That the ministry's response to the coalition that we are in the process of locating a document that was signed barely a few weeks prior to that, or a few months prior to that.
The story that you wrote, I suspect that the rest that you are reading is a background.
Yeah.
That the newspaper reporter has, added to spice the story up.
Well, just to give context.
Yeah, background. Yes, of course. To give life to the story, if you like. But the issue that transpired in court yesterday was that an order has been made for disclosures to be made. It's a regular practice. Interrogatories and discoveries are part of pre-trial procedures. And any party desirous of having a document from the other party can bring an application before court for those documents to be disclosed.
Honorable, I think looking beyond that,
for the plaintiffs to have applied to the court for the ministry to disclose those contracts to them, it's
honorable.
News at all.
Looking at it from the bigger picture, this is a government that says they are championing right to information. We want to pass it into law, and a simple document
that has been
a simple document that has been allegedly tainted. I mean, Imani Africa, Franklin Cudjoe is fighting aggressively against this, and also the minority have spoken largely against this particular contract. Now, if this contract, assuming without admitting that this contract is as clean as being purported by the Communications Ministry, what stopped the Communications Ministry for handing over same that there had to necessarily be a request at the court for the document to be released to these people?
Because the truth of the matter is that the document is not in the public domain. The parties do not have copies. And the fact that the Right to Information Bill is being championed doesn't mean that every public document is lying around. No. And so if the parties think that, look, they need this document to enable them apprise themselves and in fact, at times when disclosures are made, people vary or even discontinue their action. Because the allegation is that there are certain provisions in the agreement that directly affects their rights under the Constitution. And so it's important for them to be apprised with the document, for them to see what it is that is actually contained in there. The ministry, as far as I know, has explained that, look, the fixing of the notes will not impact our conversation. They are not fixing notes to listening to phone calls of parties. And that even beyond the obligation of the contractor to ensure that does not happen, they've added some additional layer of protection to ensure that never happens.
Well, this is what they have said. Yes, this is what the ministry has said. So that's why the contract.
I said that if the parties want a copy of the contract and they apply to court for that to be furnished to them, it is normal courtroom practice.
Okay, I'll come back to you and say.
But you see, you hear him.
But why are you preempting?
Let's not take a prejudicial stance. No.
He will spin it now.
Let us not say what he will say without saying it.
Let's not have a preview.
You see, watch him spin it.
I am so confused.
Honorable Ba, do not let him gag you. Please go.
No, he knows he can gag me. But I always want to say, I'll say it.
Please go on.
I think that, and I agree with him that if you look at what the people have gone to court for, you know, then the Human Rights Court, they are talking about issues of privacy and other things, the invasion of their privacy, which is supposed to be guaranteed under the Constitution. Absolutely. That is what is there. But you recall that, and I think that's why the writer decided to bring the background to it, that consistently they had asked for copies of the contract. They had asked for the procurement process, had even the supposed service provider was procured, and other things, whether the laws were followed very well. And you recall that even the minority had asked for some briefing in Parliament, which Mr. Speaker admitted, and they came to Parliament. In Parliament, of course, obviously, we came to realize that basically this contract was sole source. This without approval from PPA. We also got to realize there was no value for money audit made, and other emerging issues that had come up. But what is more interesting,
the PPA approval bit is not true.
Let me make my point.
Because there was even an approval from the Central Tender Review Committee.
He allowed you to make your point.
I mean, it's important that we clarify some of this. Somebody is listening and
you know why I'm so quiet. You know why I'm so quiet.
I mean,
anybody who knows
the
me
fact
on
that he came to Parliament,
discourse.
yes, there's no dispute. But the fact that you say that there was no PPA approval is not true.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
You know that ordinarily on platforms, I can be very destructive. I want to be on record today, have behaved well indeed, because this is my first time coming here. But if you push me to do that, I will.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
I was just saying that, look, so if you look at it, but what is more interesting is the fact that a contract that was signed somewhere in December 2017, then people make an application for this. And in your response, you indicate that you are still looking for the documents, assembling the documents. A party and a government that came into power on the platform of transparency, on accountability, on anti-corruption. Basically, if you look at what was the discussion on political platforms prior to the 2016 election, it had to do with corruption. So if you came as an anti-corruption crusader and they asked for these documents that are supposed to, or in any case, they should be public documents because they were signed on behalf of the people of Ghana. Then you think that you need God knows how many days to be able to let us see what is it in that contract you want to hide. Today, we are taking out somebody from office on the basis of procurement. And my friend was here on top of his voice, talking, yes, fix this. We are just asking for simple, let's look at the procurement you just made. Whether you followed due process. That too has become wahala. Meanwhile,
where's the wahala in it?
No, the point is that a Ghanaian writes and asks for this. And your response is that, look, I'm telling you, a contract of that value, we're talking about roughly almost $4 million or thereabouts. I'm not too sure about it.
No,
per month. No, I'm talking about per month. Over the period, it's about...
it should be about $1.5 million.
Yes.
1.5 million.
Yes. So you look per month.
Yes.
Yes, over the life of the project. And then you are telling me that just in December 2017 you signed, you can't find where the documents are, and you are now gathering them to be able to give them to them.
That's not the point.
That's the point. You see, for me,
Honorable Mesa, I'll come back to you.
You see, if you look at the discussions before, what we are supposed to be discussing, they talked about the court case and the fact that the court has made an order. Yeah. The details of that case we can't discuss because it's in court. It's in court. But there's a background to the story that Madame also read, and I'm making comments on the background. I'm making comments.
I told you,
and that is hinged on procurement. It's hinged on procurement.
I can read his mind.
I said no. It's because
I told you watch him spin it.
No, Honorable Mesa, let him finish. If he spin, let him finish the spinning, and then you respond to the spin.
You see, and in my opinion, I say, look, if you look at, and I'm just looking at that particular contract as a whole, there has been serious arguments on the fact that, look, one, we are duplicating functions. Two, we have in-house capacity to be able to execute this. And three, even the method of even procuring this particular contract in itself is fraudulent. And these arguments have been made consistently. And indeed, when the minister came to Parliament, he didn't prove us wrong. How can you be talking about the fact that a contract that is signed in December, you kickstart it in, in July, this month. They are going to do it this month. Meanwhile, the payment was supposed to start in December. When the minister...
When you took a car loan...
Honorable Mesa, we will have time for you. Honorable Mesa, please take a pen and a paper and make notes, and then you may respond. Honorable Bar, please go on. Honorable Bar, please go on.
And how many months did you pay before the loan was disbursed to you?
Honorable Bar, please go on. Honorable Mesa, thank you very much.
I just want to avert his mind to something. So when he can relate it,
it's fine. No,
it helps.
You have your time for that, Honorable Bar.
I hope today I'll be a darling boy of viewers. Look, now, so between December and June, Ghanaians were paying 1.5 million over that period for no work done. The minister indicates when she came to Parliament about a month, 2 months ago, thereabout?
A month
and said that same week, was it the following week, some two services were supposed to hook on to this project. As to speak today, it has not been done.
That's not true.
I think Glow.
Yeah, Glow said they were happy to do it.
They were happy to do it, but they have not. It has not been done. That's true. Hey, sorry. You see, you see, luckily enough, I work closely with the communications committee because I used to be there before I was moved to energy.
So I'm a member of the communications committee.
No. Since when did you go there?
I'm a member of the communications committee.
You have not seen you there.
No, I'm telling you.
So you have 1 minute each to wrap up. So let's not interrupt his 1 minute.
So the point I'm just trying to make is that, look, I am excited that the court has ordered this. Now we'll have the formal documents and we'll see exactly what the details were. There were some documents we had. I remember when the Minister for Communication came to Parliament, we showed it to her. She said that was fake. That was not the real document. And so speaking to that document in itself was a non-starter. At least now, with this case, the documents will come to the within the public domain and we will scrutinize it. For me, if everything is clean, I have no problem with it. If there are issues that we need to question, we would question. But you see, you know the interesting thing, I don't know, on Saturday, I was watching one of the your rival stations, where the same person who is under this particular thing was telling the police service to brutalize Ghanaians if we were to come on the streets to fight against the removal of this woman on the basis of procurement. Meanwhile, there are two major projects that have had question marks on procurement under your watch. We've had the Ghana Post GPS, and we've had this Kelly GVG issue. And you are telling the police service to brutalize people if they come out to exercise their constitutionally mandated rights.
I strongly doubt the word used was brutalize.
What did she say? Look, you know what she said? They should deal with us.
That's not
deal.
Anyway,
deal with us. No.
Thank you.
When they say a policeman should deal with you, what does that mean?
No, it doesn't mean brutalize.
No,
policeman should be arresting people. Okay.
Watch him. They should be what? They should be what?
Arrest does not mean brutalize.
So you think that? Let's even say that my interpretation of deal with us means brutalize, and yours is that arrest. So the fact that I come as a Ghanaian to openly demonstrate lawfully on the streets of Ghana, I should be arrested.
Okay.
Is that the Ghana we are in now?
No, it's not.
If it's unlawful, you can't be arrested. It's not every assembly that's lawful. Anyway, at this point, Honorable Mensah, please, you have just a minute because it's a rebuttal you are coming in with.
To watch him spin. And that's exactly what he did. Because as far as I'm concerned, if there was an existing framework which enabled citizens to have access to public documents in place as we speak, would there be the need for us to consider and pass a right to information bill? Clearly, there's no framework in place. And so, yes, the ministries, departments, and agencies work for us. But there's no legal regime that requires them to make documents available to us. Hence, the need for the fight for the right to information bill that His Excellency the President has presented to Parliament that we are, as we speak, considering, to pass it into law.
So until then, you don't find documents.
But if there was, that's what I'm saying, that because of the framework in place, public documents are not readily available. But for purposes of courtroom litigation, if a party requires a document from the other party and they make an application to court, the court looks at it and makes an order. And that's exactly what has happened. So to be, seeking to draw and raise all sorts of issues about the Kelmy GVG deal, I fail to see, except as they are capable of doing.
Look, let me tell you.
Spinning.
We unfortunately have to end this here. No, we're done. Thank you so much. Honorable Andrew Kofi Ejapa-Mensah, he's the MP of Sekondi and a member of the Privileges Committee.
Vice Chair
of the Communications and Honorable Edward Bauer, MP of Bongo and member of the Privileges Committee. Thank you both so much for spending your morning with us. Up next, we're going to talk to the co-founders of Cow Tribe. Cow Tribe is the Uber for veterinary services, and we're going to learn about everything that they're doing to help Ghana progress.
Of course, the hashtag is Breakfast Daily on all social media platforms. Also, 0550 585 832. We'll go for a quick break. Breakfast Daily continues.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who's played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard. every Sunday at 8 p.m. prompt on City TV.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you. 30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
They say, why you they love them like this? Oh, I don't know. Hi, everyone. It's Miss V. Make sure you keep watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Don't go anywhere. Tiptoe swag.
Every Thursday night on City TV, you're welcome to join women from different backgrounds and opinions as they weigh in on your relationship issues. Watch Sister Sister as the ladies get real with issues about love, marriage, betrayal, sex, dating, trust, finances, and more.
Sometimes some of the guys are like, oh no, they want to wait before they get married.
So that little question was
like, oh, I'm saying, hold on, lady. What if she does all the kiss and all of that?
And still nothing.
That's it.
If he really wants you like that.
You see, so it's like, oh.
Join Jessica and her sisters for City TV's all-women talk show, Sister Sister, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, live on 97.3 City FM.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guests, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
What one action have you taken? What one statement have you issued?
Well, we've been issuing statements, even this...
on the specific issue of...
This very one.
Of no bed syndrome. Since you are saying that you've heard this before.
Well, we keep talking.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
Hey family, my name is Joe Metal and you're watching Breakfast Daily on City TV. Keep watching, don't go nowhere.
There's a couple things that I gotta get off my chest. I don't know how to say this, but I really gotta try my best. First, you like the girl with the mystic smiley hair. In my head, you are the vision, the only dream of mine. I don't wanna spend another day without you, 'cause you make me fly like the bird, flow like the wind. You know what I'm trying to say is I will love. Bama kebonoko, bama kebonoko, bama kebonoko. Tree find no blind, bama kebonoko, bama kebonoko, bama kebonoko. Tree find. I am willing to follow my heart the way the wise men follow the stars. 'Cause I had a vision of my future last night, and you were a part of it. You are a special gift I wanna give to my mama. Well, I love you to bits, and I wanna make you my baby mama. Udama kuma super papa, uyo tumfua baba na. Miss me or take up cause na Thinking in this road, don't take your love from me. Let me show you how much I care. me a chance. Give me a chance.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily, and we're going to enjoy more music from Creamy. Right? He's really talented, so he started us out with Spanish music, and we got a taste of Ga, and maybe he'll do Ashanti, because I just learned that he's half Ashanti, half Ga, and he's super, super talented, and we cannot wait to hear more from him. But now I'm joined by two brilliant young entrepreneurs who are doing something phenomenal in the vet sector, right? So we have a lot of animals, cows. We eat a lot of cows every day, and they're doing a lot of really good work in that sector. So we'll be speaking to Cow Tribe, right? They are the Uber for veterinary services in relations to cows, and we'll hear all about the amazing work that you're doing in Ghana, and one of them actually was nominated and awarded Queen's Scholar. So we'll learn all about their work pretty soon. So I will start with you. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Do you want to tell us a bit about Cow Tribe and how you guys started?
Yes, so
the tagline is healthy animals, happy farmers. So how do you keep the animals healthy, the farmers happy, and me as a consumer also happy?
Yes, so as you mentioned, our company is into veterinary services, but we are a technology company. Okay. So we are not, we don't provide veterinary services ourselves. But we have built tools that allows veterinary providers to be able to reach out to farmers in the hinterlands. You know that even though we have few cows and goats in the towns and cities, but most of where our meat comes from is from the farmers in the hinterlands. And for the past decade, there has been a gap between the farmers and the providers of veterinary services, and animal health is really critical, because if we need quality meat, then we need the animals to be healthy and productive. But over the past 2 decades, we've realized that there has been a decline in the access to animal health. So we have built this platform that allows farmers to access these services from providers who are mostly in the urban areas.
So tell me more about the problem specifically. What's the issue that you're solving with Cow Tribe?
So the issue we're solving is a generic one. So if you look at rural market in general, it's fragmented. If in the urban setting, you have a lot of consumers concentrated at one place. So if you set up a shop here, maybe a veterinary clinic anywhere close by, you have a lot of people coming there. But if you go to the rural areas, these farmers are scattered everywhere. You don't find them in one place. You have one farmer here and the other one in 1 kilometer away. So if you want to serve them, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of money. And so most of the providers who are located in the urban areas do not want to go there, because they spend a lot of money and they don't get much back, because these farmers are also poor. So what we think is that the problem is because of the fragmented nature of the rural market, not just for veterinary services, but almost everything that a rural person needs, you know, to be able to produce, you know, not just meat, but also other food stuff for us.
Okay, so I see your co-founder here. What inspired you guys to start this business?
Peter and I are doing this because we have personal stories connected to what we're doing. Because from rural part of Ghana where we are born, our parents kept lots of chicken, lots of animals.
Where exactly were you guys born?
I come from Damango, in the northern region.
From Boku.
Boku, okay.
And to let you know, he was a herder. So
Really?
he took care of animals.
How was that like?
It's interesting. You have to sleep in the bush maybe a couple of nights, you know, just to make sure the animals are eating well, because sometimes during the dry season, you don't get a lot of feed for the animals. So we go very far away, and then we stay there with them a couple of, you know, nights to get more food for them, yeah.
Wow.
But, well, that's the experience that got me to doing
Really
what I'm
interesting.
doing.
So for you, it was being a herder, being on the field, spending time with these cows, and understanding that...
Absolutely.
Maybe it wasn't easy for you to find a vet.
Exactly. But it didn't come that easy because, you know, growing up with your parents who are, you know, farmers, your whole family take care of cattle, goats, and sheep, it's not easy to understand why the animals keep dying, you know. It's not easy to understand why they are not producing more. And, you know, you get out of school, you start looking into all these issues, and you realize that it's just a simple problem that can be solved if they have access to veterinary services, you know. So it wasn't that easy to figure out then, but it makes sense now that if they have access to veterinary services, then we could probably have had better, you know, results from these animals.
And maybe avoided some of the deaths.
Exactly. So now I'm happy because I can contribute to that, you know.
Okay, Alima, what inspired you?
Growing up from the village, my grandmother and I kept lots of chicken. At some point, I had to drop out of school to go weed on people's farms because we lost our chicken to a disease we didn't know. Now I understand it was Newcastle. And I got myself into journalism in Tamale. I practiced for 6 years.
Wow.
And during this period, I produced a Greek program both in Gonja and in Dagbani. They are the major languages within our catchment area. And we went into the communities to have feedback as to what people were using the Agric information for. And then we realized that, okay, so the information is important, but of course they also heavily relied on rain to get their produce. But in the face of climate variability, it becomes much difficult for them to predict the rains, and so they keep losing their produce. But of course, they have another resource, which is the animals. Yet these animals keep dying, and they don't know what to do. The few who have an idea that if they had access to veterinary services, the animals would have stayed, they also still do not have access to veterinarians. This is because the veterinary service is largely fragmented. And so this man has sold insurance before, and I have done journalism, and I have a much better appreciation of how the rural setting and livelihood is. So we met one evening, we were just sharing personal stories.
How did you meet? Did you go to the same school?
Oh, no.
Is it like...
I don't want you to say that here.
Tinder for entrepreneurs. Okay, what did you both study? What schools did you go to?
So,
since we were not going to tell how we met.
Yes, so as she mentioned, she studied journalism.
Did you study journalism?
Yeah.
In what school?
And in GFAM, in Tamale.
Okay, and you?
And I went to UDS. I studied development studies. But that is not what I'm doing now.
And I later
but did it spark something?
No, it didn't.
Oh, really?
No, it has no relation.
We are both in areas where it doesn't relate to our professions or our training.
What did you study in school?
Early childhood development at Winneba.
See, she didn't do journalism.
Yes,
so I did journalism. I studied journalism for a year.
Okay.
Before I practiced for 6 years. I went back to Winneba to study early childhood development, and I am not practicing. So what we're doing is not related to what we studied.
So at what point did you? So you go to school to do developmental studies.
Yes.
And then she did early childhood. So did you reach an epiphany that this is something I was passionate about as a child and I can actually solve it? Did you realize it when you met each other, or you knew it independently?
So for me, she mentioned that I sold insurance, and I sold insurance to farmers. You know,
what kind of insurance?
Crop insurance. So I worked for 1.5 years with a company that tried to introduce crop insurance to farmers.
Okay.
And during the experience, I got that relationship back. You know, at the beginning, I mentioned that I was a header.
Yes.
And I remember maybe the connection was when I was doing my national service. I was sent to one of these rural villages, districts called Zabzugu.
Okay.
And I was supposed to handle an entire district on a project, food security project. And one day I was riding across a community, and they called me thinking I was a vet, you know. And it was an old woman who called me and asked that I should come look at a sick animal. And I tried to explain to her that I wasn't a vet, but she said, you know, in the local language they call it Karachi. Come and look at that. You can do
Karachi,
something about it.
Vets are Karachi.
Well, everything, yes, educated person, you should know something about what, you know. So I got there and I saw a cow, you know, very sick one. It had, you know, sores all over the mouth and the feet and and it was stuck in mud because it was a rainy season, and I could see the emotions of the cow, like just begging for help, like very sick, and it's been there for 3 days or so, and nobody understood what was wrong with the cow. And so I had to rush out, look for a vet, and by that time, at that time, we had only one vet in the district. Only one, and they had like 100,000 farmers who needed vets, and it was only one. So I had to trace him to the next community. I had to even bribe him to get back with me. And
this is the vet?
Yes, to just come look at the cow and see if he can save the cow. But when he got there, he just looked at my face and said, "Peter, we can't do anything. Even if we have to save the cow, we have to cut the limbs. And what is any use of a cow if it doesn't have the limbs?"
And
so yeah, and it was the experience that got me back to thinking about what we really thinking. Like the meat we eat, we don't have that connection to struggling, suffering cows. You know, we don't have that connection, but it's there. If you go to the rural areas in the hinterlands where there are no vets, farmers lose a lot of animals, and they don't seem to even understand why. And the incident I witnessed there was just a simple foot and mouth disease that can be, you know, prevented with vaccines. Simple dose of vaccine, just one shot of vaccine. They don't. But we have these vaccines locked up in warehouses in Accra, Kumasi, and everywhere. We just need to find a way of getting these vaccines to these farmers, and that's exactly what CowTribe is about.
So, Halima, tell me about what CowTribe does.
So just to walk you through a simple process of how we get to work with a farmer. We first identify a community, and we go in with our agents to first register the farmers after we have sold the product to them. So
what's the product itself?
Our product simply is connecting them to veterinary services and making sure they have constant voice messages on animal husbandry practices. And our primary aim is for the animal not to die.
Okay.
And so they know the benefit of having access to veterinary services. They know the importance of having access to vaccines. And so most of the time, you find people, about 90% of people in the community mostly will subscribe to us after we have pitched our product to them.
But how many veterinary services do we have currently?
Veterinarians in a district is averagely two vets per district. In some districts, they don't even have a vet at all.
So if I have 2 vets, or if I have one... Okay, I'm in a district, let's say I'm 2 hours away from the vet, and you come to me, I'm a farmer. How do you get me to use your service? And how does it make my life easier?
So your life becomes easier when we have all your data. Now you don't have to wake up in the morning and worry about how and where to connect to a vet. We do all that because we have the information of your animals. And we know at what time exactly.
Don't I have just 2?
Yes. Yes, you do.
Okay.
And your neighbor also has 2. And the other vets, neighbor, you know, think of it like an aggregation, you know. So what we do is that we don't, one vet doesn't need to attend to only 2 farmers in a day. He can attend to like 100 farmers in a day. So with our system, first, we make sure that that one vet can attend to more within a day. How? And so look at it that previously the vets will only go to the community and just attend to 1 or 2 farmers who call them.
So the farmers don't go to the vets.
No.
The vets come to the farmer.
Exactly. And we do this connection.
That I understand.
So now we can have him attend to the entire community
because he knows the issues.
Because now he knows which farmer needs what vaccines. And remember again, we are not doing curative anymore. We're not doing emergency running and, you know, now we do vaccinations.
So you're preventing the problem from...
So we know these are 1,000 animals in this community. We organize a vaccination campaign with our system, and then it tells which veterinarian should go to which community at what time. Now, vaccines, we don't require vets to administer vaccines. We can also have what we call community service agents. So we have been training community service agents across our communities, and they just need
What communities are those?
So we have about 120 communities that we work in 3 northern regions.
Okay.
We move into Brong-Ahafo next month, and then Eastern next month. So we are expanding, and each community will have an agent who is trained to be able to administer vaccines, and we aggregate all that at one location. So we know, okay, this community needs this amount of vaccines at this time. And not just Newcastle, but, you know, CBPP, PPR, you know, all these vaccines are scheduled throughout the year. So when the time comes, our system automatically knows that this is the time for Newcastle, and this is the number of, you know, chicken that has to be vaccinated in this community, and then the vaccine leaves the warehouse and goes there. So it's kind of organic, and it works, you know, to ensure that every farmer receives vaccines throughout the year.
Okay, now, can you explain exactly what your product is for me? Because I'm thinking, is it a software? Is it hardware? If I'm a farmer, I might not have access to internet, so how exactly do I use it?
So our product is not vaccine. Our product is the software that we have developed.
Okay, how do I use it? Is it like on an app? Is it in an app store? Is it in a USD code?
It's an app that only our agents use. We don't require the farmers to use the app. Okay. Because we understand
the complexities.
Absolutely. So what the farmer needs is just to own a simple feature phone that can receive a call and not to use our app. It is rather our agents who use the app to help us aggregate the demand, and then it helps us connect to the veterinary services to give them alert on what they are supposed to do in which community and at what time. So the app simply is used by cow tribe agents, and then the veterinary on the other hand.
That makes sense. How many agents do you have?
So
you wanted to answer something?
Yes, so I wanted to add that we've also introduced what we call near-field communication. NFC, we give them a card. It's an electronic card. Every farmer has an electronic card that has the details of all his animals. So even 10 years from now, if you go back to that community and you scan that card, you have every information about the farmer for the past 10 years. Wow. So we are basically building a system that allows not only for the farmer to access other services. So beyond vaccines, he can access fertilizer, he can access tractor services with that simple system. So when he goes to the agent with his card, he can swipe the card and even make a payment through mobile money. So that card is all what he needs to be able to access. So when he swipes the card, he can say, I want vaccines, and we already know the number of animals he needs. So it automatically aggregates that and then makes the vaccine provider, access the data and make sure the vaccine. So as she said, our system, our product is a technology we've built, and this technology connects, service providers. In this case, the vaccine providers to the farmers.
Okay. Yeah. How long have you guys been doing this, and what challenges have you faced?
For 18 months now.
You've been doing it for 18 months?
Yeah.
So almost getting to 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What were some initial challenges you had?
For me, I think a lot of challenges, like all other startups. To be sincere, I must say, when we started, our intention wasn't to build an app. It wasn't to build any technology to our intention was to connect, farmers to vets. So even the initial stages, we're using we will sit in the office and just make calls.
Wow.
And I remember we had 4 agents and 4 officers, and they all resigned within a 6-month period because it was so tiring. So during the process, we asked, how can we make it more efficient? And that is where the idea of applications came. And I had to learn how to develop, along the line, and so I can help and so that's the important challenge. We are up north there, and the ecosystem there is not that developed to support what we are doing. So I had to even move to Accra here and stay for about 6 months. So that's one of the biggest challenge. How does the ecosystem encourage what we are doing and support it? And I think we are not the only startups struggling. There are a lot of startups out there who need the enabling environment to grow, not just money, but to ensure that when we need this kind of support, in kind, we get it. So that's the first. The second is the fact that we are actually solving a problem that a lot of people have tried and left.
Really? So you're not the first people to try this?
Not at all. I mean, government itself has tried it so many times and it hasn't worked and they left it. So we do know it will take a while for us to get to where we need to be. And that alone is a big challenge, because then we need government to even support with, just acknowledge that this is what is needed. It's what we need, We've been struggling getting to the offices. We've been trying to meet the right people, and they just don't have the time to listen to us. And I think when they really do, it will really help our farmers. We have something to offer. And I think the last one, I must say, is of course, money. So money comes last to us, but we've been spending our own resources. We've got some initial investments from...
Can you let us know where you got your investments?
Okay, so last year...
Congratulations, by the way, because not a lot of startups are able to even get seeds.
Yeah, it was really difficult, but we were part of a select few of 7 startups that went to Fledge Accelerator in Barcelona last year. So myself and Alima were there for 3 months.
Wow!
Just to
it was a great experience.
They were great people. They took us from exactly what we needed to be, where we started and to where we needed to be. And when we came back, we saw our technology, our platform,
How much
everything.
Did you raise?
Initially around, let's say 50 thereabouts.
Was it
50K.
equity or just grants?
It's equity. So, but it has carried us a long way. But now we need to raise more, because then we are scaling. We just don't want to end in Ghana. We want to serve the entire sub-region. Interesting enough, we are the only technology company doing this in the entire, I can say, the entire Africa. So we want to be able to do this quickly and scale quickly into the market and serve more farmers. I can tell you about 250 million farmers in Africa need what we have.
Yeah.
So money is really useful for them.
And we have just 30,000 already.
18 months, 30,000 farmers.
Wow.
Yeah.
How many agents do you have?
So,
about 250.
Yes, it's community service agents. Yeah.
How do you guys make money? Because I'm thinking, if I'm a farmer, I can't really pay you much, but
no, they
it's
do.
sounding
They do
like
pay
a lot
us.
of cost. You have agents to take care of 30,000
farmers pay us like $5 a year.
Okay,
and that's
25. You're able to break even with that?
No, but then
at this point, no.
Now we are testing a new business, business model where all the vaccines that come through our system, because we also collect the money for our suppliers, so we take a commission of 10%. 10 to 15%.
Suppliers are the
vaccine. Yes. So because we are connecting them to the farmers, they should pay us, right? So we are taking some margins from that, and per our calculation, it's not that bad. I think we should do well in the next 2-3 years.
And you are a social impact, right?
We
so
are.
It's not all about profit.
We are supporting
grants, government grants, for example, to help the work that you're doing.
Definitely. And our attention is on women. She mentioned that this year we want to reach out to about 10,000 women. because they have the chicken. Last year we didn't notice it so early because we were targeting the cattle and goats and all that, and we realized less than 10% of the people subscribing to our system were women. So we investigated and realized, oh, they are just taking care of chicken, and
and the poultry industry is an industry we are all struggling with. I mean, I personally don't eat chicken because anytime I walk into a restaurant, I can guarantee that the chicken is made locally, and I don't know where my chicken is
coming from. You should buy from our villages. We assure you that you get
including the cattle, good sheep you've been eating, you cannot guarantee the quality.
I cannot assure you that.
But in our communities, we can assure you of getting healthy animals to kill for your Christmas.
Let's talk now about young people and their involvement in this nation's development, right? You guys are assuming below the ages of 30, I think.
No.
You're below 40.
He is a papa. He is a papa.
You're below 40. And I think a lot of us tend to be passive participants of our development because we think some big government is going to come and save us, right? We hear a lot of young people protesting. They are frustrated. They are traveling to Libya. They just want to get out of the country. What made you to decide that we've seen this problem, we're not going to wait for somebody to solve it, we are actually going to solve it ourselves, and we have the confidence and the willpower to get it done?
Okay,
for the first time ever, you're going to let her speak.
Okay, so what happens is that I said to you already, he used to sell insurance. Before the insurance, he worked for a very lucrative NGO. And above all, he had to quit. And I quit my journalism for 6 years. I resigned. I wrote a resignation letter. Because I felt I was doing the same thing over and over again, and I am not seeing the practical results. And so it was time for me to quit and go do something differently. And I started in the children's sector to register an NGO until we met together to talk about this problem. So we are doing this because we know our future we are still young people, and we need to take our own future into our hands. And we do recognize that it is not the government or the politician or an NGO that can make our lives better, that can make the lives of our people better, because we come from communities and we see our own selves in the people we work with every day. In the farms or the villages that we go to, I keep seeing the life that I led with my grandmother, and he sees the life he led with his grandfather while he was a herder. So on one hand, it is a personal connection that we just decided to solve a problem for ourselves. On the other hand, we need to be able to set the standard so that other people would come and continue. We do realize that everyone at this point need to find a problem. It was a problem for us, but now we do think it's no longer a problem because we are solving it. And there are lots of problems out there that we think other young people can take up and solve. So it has to be a personal connection before we find a monetary value in it.
Okay, now Peter, to you, you've already started the process, right? You've done all the work that needs to be done. What can this nation do to help you succeed?
So I think I mentioned briefly about government support, but maybe I wasn't very specific. I must say this government has done a lot already. First of all, it has set up a whole ministry for business development, even though it's still ambiguous about what it really means to startups. But I think the first step is made. The second thing is that we must move out of Accra.
Okay.
You know, all of us are stuck here because we think it makes us comfortable to be here. But if we want to develop as a nation, we must explore talent beyond Accra.
So both of you don't live in Accra?
No.
No.
Where do you live?
Tamale.
Okay.
So I've lived in Tamale for 21 years.
Wow.
And I have lived in virtually every region across Ghana. But Tamale specifically is attractive to me because I do know, when I was coming in here, I said it takes just 5 minutes to go around Tamale. You don't have traffic, you don't have all that. But
the air is better.
It's an awesome, you can get wache, not from a gutter, but a really good place.
Okay, can you stop? Can you stop with the shade?
I'm trying to sell my city, and I hope nobody calls me on it. Yes. But I think we don't want to come down to Accra to access services. We want Accra to come to us because the people we are serving are there. If we all move here, I see people carrying, you know, people on their stuff on their head because we didn't give them option to do stuff
back in their villages.
So we want to set an example for that. And when I quit the job, it was for that reason. I don't have that option. I think people have done it before, maybe in different places, but maybe as politicians, but we are entrepreneurs. We are a new generation of entrepreneurs. When we met, we told ourselves we were never going to quit until when we have succeeded and young people who are coming out there can see. But we cannot do it if government doesn't recognize that innovation pays. Because what we're doing is we are competing with not just Africa but the world. I mean, we've gone to places. She's been to England to receive awards that are, you know, outstanding.
Congratulations! I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yes, and that is the essence of being an entrepreneur. But it can be lonely journey if you don't have people around you. And thank you for inviting us to share.
Thank you for being here. So briefly, tell us, how was your experience in England? And congratulations on your awards again.
Thank you. In England, it was an experience I never had imagined growing up, because I see myself traveling out of the country to do something different, but I never imagined shaking the hand of the Queen. And it was an awesome experience. Unfortunately, I wept through the whole day.
There's nothing wrong with weeping.
And I just think it's an opportunity for us, or for me, to continue to do more and not to give up ever, regardless of the challenges. It takes courage to be doing what we're doing. Getting to England to have interaction with other young people from across the Commonwealth, I do realize it's kind of a new revolution, and people are beginning to take opportunities and to work on them instead of sitting down for the elderly ones to work for us and feed us. So I just felt some kind of reignition of some kind of fire that I just have to go with and not to set back. There are times I just lament over our challenges, but getting into London and having
being honored in such a manner,
it just feels awesome, and it feels more challenging that at this point we cannot afford to fail the Commonwealth, we cannot afford to fail the other young people who are looking up to us, and we cannot afford to fail the farmers.
Thank you so much. How can we reach you guys if we need to get in touch with you?
So we are active on social media.
Please let us know your handle.
At Caltribe on Twitter and on Facebook.
Okay.
If you like us on Facebook, we would be very grateful.
Okay.
What we hope is that we should take this conversation beyond Caltribe. How can we keep ourselves healthy by eating healthy meat? You know, if you want the chichinga on the way, whenever you buy chichinga, remember it's coming from a farmer who could have kept the animals healthier. Support Caltribe in, you know, getting people to access more vaccines. Support us in being able to reach out to the right people. If you are an entrepreneur out there, we can collaborate and do anything. We are grateful. If you have funds,
is there an email we can reach you on?
Yeah, info@caltribe.com.
Info@caltribe.com. Peter and Alima, thank you so much for spending your morning with us.
And thank you for recognizing us and bringing us here.
It's my pleasure. Now, Wilberforce is going to talk to Creamy. Creamy gave us a really good music, so we've learned from our entrepreneurs and what you're doing in the agricultural sector, right? Applying technology to agriculture. People don't really see musicians as entrepreneurs, but they are also entrepreneurs, and they're really putting Ghana on the map and selling Ghana. I personally think they're our biggest brand ambassadors as far as tourism is concerned. So we look forward to listening to hearing Creamy's story. Really, he's talented. But before we do that, if there are any advice both of you would like to give to the young people out there, I think we can, just to inspire them.
I want to talk specifically for young people who are women, young ladies. I'm sure he would want to talk about a generic thing, but I want to say that young women or ladies should just stop complaining about being women and almost always asking for favors. Okay. We can do something for ourselves to earn the personal respect and dignity and to have a dignified life through our own sweat. The entire population that applied for the Queen's Young Leaders Award were about 5,000 plus, and just about 60 of us from 38 Commonwealth countries were invited.
Wow.
Out of this, we have about 20 of them being women.
Wow.
It tells you that we have a larger population, even in the House, being women, right? And it is about time we take our own development into our own hands and not expecting governments and NGOs to better our lives for us. I just think that we should stop complaining about being women and asking to
get handouts.
Is it gender
equality?
Gender equality,
which does exist, though. The inequalities are real, but I do agree with you that the standards need to be higher.
But have we proved enough of our wealth? Have we proved that we deserve the equality or equity? We have not. So I do think to end the equality, we need to prove our wealth to end that.
And I'm going to be the devil's advocate here and say men didn't need to prove anything. They just received it, so we don't have to prove it. But I do agree with you. The standard for women needs to be. Any advice for men?
Yes.
Maybe they also need to earn it.
Yes. But I think what I would talk, and thank you for bringing this up, I think both of us are very, we love to bring this gender issue up in our work. I want to talk about technology. I think young people are underutilizing the opportunity that it presents to us. For me, I think it's an opportunity for Africa to catch up with the rest of the world if we understand exactly what it offers us. It's not just for us to use technology, but begin to develop technology. I was so proud that we present CowTribe as a unique innovation for the entire world. I hope that young people, not just in Ghana, but across Africa, can see innovation as the way that we can catch up with the rest of the world. Okay. And so that's the advice I give.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. Wilberforce, are you ready?
Yes, thank you very much, Jifa. Interesting things these young people are doing out there. And, you know, if you're watching this, you should feel very motivated by exactly what's going on. And I respect a lot the fact that the lady is saying, you know what, women, we have to learn to do more. We should stop complaining and asking more or less for handouts. And I believe it. I think the gender equality argument is far, past. There's already that equality. Nothing stops a woman from doing the exact same thing a man is doing. That's just my humble opinion. Anyway, it's still Breakfast Daily, and I've been joined by Creamy. So when we started the show, I'm like, you know what? This is Kareem. This is the name that I'm giving him because he looks so tough. He looks so hard. So I'm seeing Creamy, but I'm saying, no, you know what? His name is Kareem. His name is Kareem. But I'm going to call you Creamy, okay? Creamy, you prefer the Creamy. But what's your real name?
My real name is Henry.
Henry?
Yes.
Henry
Nyama.
Henry Nyama. So how did the Creamy come in?
Okay. So I was looking for a stage name. And then I asked myself, who do I want to be? And then I said, I want to be the best. How do I say the best? That gives it some swag. And I thought about the French phrase, crème de la crème.
Crème de la crème. And
and I took one crème and I made it Creamy.
Creamy.
Yes.
And you felt Creamy it projects you as the best. The name Creamy.
When you look at the genre of music I do and my voice, I have a small voice.
You see, your voice when you're talking is extremely different from when you're singing.
When I'm singing, well.
Okay, so you see the voice you're talking, you're talking to me with right now, you're speaking with right now. Okay, now I want you to sing 2 lines of the Spanish song you did at the beginning. Now I want viewers to just see the difference. They should hear the difference in the voice. It's just such talent. Okay.
Despacito, quiero respirar tu cuello despacito, deja que te diga cosas al ojito, para que te cuente si no estás conmigo. Despacito.
Oh, amazing. I can see you felt like melting in the background. You felt like going all over the place. Interesting. So, how many languages do you speak? Let me just
I speak
that.
Two. Okay,
Two.
three.
Okay.
I speak Ga, I speak Twi, and I speak English.
So how did you master this language that you just sang in?
On the show, we were given a chart to take any song from the Billboard.
On what show?
On MTN Hitmaker.
Okay.
Yes. So
Wait, you're also from Hitmaker.
Yes,
Kewa took quite a lot of people from Hitmaker.
I know.
Okay.
Because he worked with them, and I think he identified our talents there.
I mean,
So-
I think I should also start doing that. I should also start going to these events, just picking out talent.
I think the footballers are doing it, so why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay, so tell me exactly what you were saying again.
Yes, so they gave us a chart to choose songs from to perform. It was the Billboard Top 100. And on top of it was Despacito. Nobody tried it. Nobody touched it because it was in Spanish. And it was a risk. I took it. I was like, okay, let me take it. If I do it well, I'll be the best. If I don't, I'll be the worst. So let me just take that risk. I rewrote the lyrics as I heard it. And then I took the original lyrics and then compared it with what Luis Fonsi did. And then made sure I had the tonation and everything right.
It's just amazing. I mean, we were debating for, when we heard you sing it the first time, when we went on break, Jafar and I were just wondering, does he speak Spanish? We're literally, putting a wager on this, whether or not you actually are Spanish even.
No, I'm not Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. All I know is como está.
¿Cómo estás? That's how are you, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Estoy bien.
Okay, estoy bien. Cool. So, I need to know exactly the person behind Creamy. We know, many things about Creamy. We know the talent that you offer. You sang about 2 songs already. Good. So, of course, you'll be performing again. We would have you perform again.
Yeah.
So now, we want to get you in a person, like up close and personal with you.
Okay.
We want to get to know who you are.
That's fine.
Okay, so you mentioned your name, Henry.
Okay, my name is Henry Nyama, with stage name Creamy. My Creamy is spelled Krymi. And music started from secondary school. I went to Pukware. Yeah, I can teach you. Music started from secondary school. I don't believe those who say, "Oh, me, I started when I was 5 or I was 2." No, I started when I was in secondary school.
I don't believe
them.
Who say it.
Yeah, you are 2. How do you say? Anyway,
Interesting.
Anyway, I am trying to be honest. I feel I loved music at a tender age, but I started singing when I was in secondary school. Yes, my dad is a huge jazz fan.
You're like how old right now?
Well, can you guess my age?
Are you married?
No, I'm not married.
You're not married. Okay, let me guess you're maybe 24?
You might want to go higher a bit.
Higher?
Don't worry, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
He refuses to mention it. That's
well,
fine.
Hey.
Okay.
And I did my HND in civil engineering and have my BTech, Bachelor of Technology in Civil Engineering.
Oh, wow.
So I went to school.
Wow, that's solid. So why music? Why didn't you follow up maybe in civil engineering?
Yes. Music has been a passion. And the kind of joy I receive when I see people not only jump to my song, but sing it with passion, gives me some massive joy. And that thing about doing what you love.
Doing what you love, exactly.
Sometimes when you are very tired, you don't even know.
But would you say you were a good civil engineer student?
If I have a second upper,
for civil engineer, that's huge. Okay, so I want you to perform. I want you to do another song for us. But before that, I'll take a final message. Any final message from you?
Well, I would start by saying thank you for having me here. Thank you so much for having me here. I believe it's a privilege to be here.
Of course, you have to add your social media handle.
Yes, I will do that. And I want to encourage everybody to love highly spiritual music, because the kind of things we are bringing back to back, massive. Thank you to Kewa. Thank you to the management. They're doing a great job. I would put out my social media handles. On Instagram and on Twitter, it's Creamy, Krymi _ music.
Creamy _ music.
Krymi _ music. And on Facebook, my fan page is Creamy Music.
Creamy Music.
So I'm
same.
Creamy Music.
KRYMI.
Same.
Creamy Music. Okay, so this is something I always do here. Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot right now.
Wow.
Okay, so she's watching you. She's watching you. I want you to look into the camera. She's watching you with her mommy and daddy. Okay, they're sitting in the hall, in the living room, and they're watching you. And I want you to say a special message to her.
Who?
What do you mean who? She. Everybody else watching knows who I'm talking about. How come you don't know who I'm talking about?
I'm the only one lost. I don't know who.
So is there no she?
There's no she.
Partner in the picture right now?
There's
Anybody
no
you're looking to get married to in the future?
Well, hopefully we'll find somebody. But right now I want to keep it on the down low and then focus on work more, you know.
Okay. So
But I can do it for all the she's.
You can do it for all the she's. Please do. Really quick.
Baby, you should let me love you. Let me be the one to give you everything you want and need.
Okay. It's okay. You're saying this to all the women. Anyway, so I think we'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, you will sing to us. Okay?
That's fine.
Yeah, you sing for us to end the show. Sure. Thank you very much, Creamy, for passing through.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man. You're so talented.
Thank
okay,
you.
So we'll go for a quick break.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guest, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
What one action have you taken? What one statement have you issued?
Well, we've been issuing statements, even this...
on the specific issue of...
This very one.
Of no bed syndrome. Since you are saying that you've heard this before.
Well, we keep talking.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
Welcome back. This has been an inspirational morning. It's an inspiring morning.
I'm very happy. I'm very, very, very happy. I don't know if you see the happy written all over my face. Anyway, it's been...
But I've been inspired, right? Yeah. From we got the chance to speak to 3 young people, and especially the Cow Tribe crew. They also won a pitch from Meltwater. Ooh. So I'm really, really happy for them, and I cannot wait to see. What did you learn from Creamy?
Creamy is so he's not Kareem.
No, how could you think he's Kareem?
He's not Kareem.
Can we?
No, I mean he's really good. I think Creamy is going to the top. I mean his voice is unique. It's different from the regular thing we hear, and I think he is going to the top. So I like the fact also that he studied civil engineering, but he decides to follow his passion. Yeah. So it's not always what you study. Sometimes you have to change if you want to, and he's succeeded at it.
And there's nothing wrong with going after your dreams. I think if there's one thing I've learned today is to not be afraid to chase my dreams and just make everything is possible, right? So let's just keep that positive energy, and thank you at home for joining us. We will see you same time tomorrow morning.
Okay, so my name is Isaac Wilberforce Mensah.
And I am Jifa Ekia Amacham. We're going to leave you in the hands of the amazing Creamy.
See, when the blessings they fall and the money they come, you for no say. We they go high, we they fly high, you for no say. See, when you see me now the Bugatti, you for no say something spiritual. See, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, we they blow them our minds. Them gonna say we be the best, yeah. come and carry go. Them they call me Mr. Creamy, yo. They won't marry me, yo. But they don't really know my story, yo. Yeah, my name is KRY, man. Let's go. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hello. Are you there? The love of my life. Can you hear me? I know that you're really sad and really hurt. Girl, I'm truly sorry and I'm different. Come on. It's not fair to leave me alone and reject me. I know I was cold and I admit it. Girl, I'm truly sorry, I regret it. See, I'm in pieces. I've been running around in circles, girl, I'm speechless. Trying hard to find a way to your heart. Yeah. See, I love you. That's why I sing this song for you, girl. Really, mommy. Baby, let me in. I know I make mistakes, but really, mommy, and make everything alright, girl. Really, mommy. Oh, my baby, really, mommy. Baby, let me in, mommy. I know I made mistakes, but really, mommy, and make everything alright, girl. Everything alright. Oh, my baby, funny. My honey, we are my first lady. This ain't shady, and just maybe when you leave me, I'll go crazy, oh darling. My honey, we are my first lady. This ain't shady.
Germany's political crisis spreads beyond its frontiers, as Austria declares it is ready to protect its borders from migrants. A team of Ugandan scientists win top honors for their malaria rapid testing kit. And the last African team booted from World Cup raises concerns. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. As the European migrant crisis simmers, Austria announced Tuesday that it is ready to implement unspecified border protections if Germany enacts a set of stricter immigration controls its government released on Monday. Austria says it's prepared in particular to take measures to protect its southern border, which include those with Italy and Slovenia. German Chancellor Angela Merkel's ruling party is advocating a more welcoming stance, while her Bavarian coalition partner is calling for stricter controls over who is allowed into the country. Merkel and the Christian Social Union leader and Interior Minister Horst Seehofer both say they have agreed on a plan that works for both sides. The agreement calls for establishing transit centers to hold asylum seekers while their cases are being evaluated. If the migrants are found to have already applied for asylum in a different European Union country, they would be sent back to that country or to Austria, pending agreement with the Austrian government. Meanwhile, in Malta, for the second time in a week, authorities have detained a humanitarian vessel. The Sea-Watch 3 normally rescues migrants off the coast of Libya. Last week, the humanitarian ship Lifeline was detained after Malta opened its port to 230 migrants. Italy had denied the ship safe haven. The Sea-Watch 3 is operated by a German charity. The vessel's spokesperson says They had requested to leave port after undergoing maintenance, but the Port Authority had refused. Malta's Port Authority says the vessel's status is under review. Sea-Watch head of mission, Jan Chile, insists they are being blocked without any reason.
The Maltese government is basically stopping us from saving lives at sea at the moment. So there have been 63 people dying yesterday. There have been more than 100 people dying on Friday. We are like kind of the only really well-equipped rescue asset at the moment available. There are no other NGOs at the moment because they're all blocked, all had to go to different ports. So they are basically risking people drowning in the Mediterranean Sea at the moment.
Italy's far-right interior minister says the rescue ships are colluding with Libyan smugglers, a charge that has never been proven in court and denied by the rescuers. Last week, Malta said it would no longer provide logistical support to vessels under the suspicion of acting illegally. The immigrant from Mali, dubbed Spider-Man after he scaled a Paris apartment building to save a young boy dangling from a balcony, has started to work for the city's fire department. 22-year-old Mamadou Gassama captured international attention when he scaled 4 stories of a building's exterior to save a 4-year-old boy who had managed to climb over a balcony and was perilously dangling above the street. President Emmanuel Macron suggested Gassama pursue the job as a firefighter after recognizing him for his heroics. Macron, who has supported a bill to tighten France's immigration law, has said there is no disparity between rewarding Gassama for his act of bravery and holding firm on immigration. Now, Jenny Gonzalez of Guatemala crossed the border into the United States illegally and was separated from her children. VOA is following her quest to overcome legal barriers to get her kids back from distant detention centers. As VOA's Celia Mendoza reports from Arizona, this is one case among the 2,000 children of illegal migrants separated from their families.
After 43 days in the custody of U.S. immigration authorities, Jenny Gonzalez was released on bail. She had been separated from her 3 children on the southern border of the United States when they tried to enter the country without legal documents. She spoke with the Voice of America when she left the migrant detention center in Eloy, Arizona.
I'm going to look for my children. It has been very difficult, very hard for me. I felt that my heart broke into 1,000 pieces. They snatched my children from my arms.
For 5 weeks, Gonzalez was detained in this immigration center, 3,800 kilometers from New York, where her 3 children were sent. Gonzalez was distraught.
I asked them to please give me a call, and they said no, there were no calls. And I told them, please, I want to know for my children, that I already have days of not knowing about them. And he said, do you know something? You will be deported to Guatemala, and your children, he told me, will remain in the hands of this government.
In a VOA interview, Jenny says she was unaware of the zero-tolerance policy that separated her from her children. She says if she had known, she would never have brought her children this way. They are now in New York under the care of the Cayuga Center. Donations made it possible for Gonzalez to be released on bail.
The bail was paid by some families, mothers who were in New York City. And thank God they sent me by text message confirmation it was paid, that the bail of $7,500 was paid.
Gonzalez's departure coincided with First Lady Melania Trump's visit to Migration Processing Center in Tucson, Arizona. Trump is closely following the situation of these undocumented families and the work of the authorities.
I'm here to support you and give my help, whatever I can, for behalf of children and the families.
The Trump administration says it will reunify families, according to the head of the Department of Health and Human Services, Alex Azar.
They would be unified with either parents or other relatives under our policy. So, of course, if the parent remains in detention, unfortunately, under rules that are set by Congress and the courts, they can't be reunified while they're in detention.
Gonzalez is looking forward to hugging her kids very soon. Celia Mendoza, VOA News, Eloy, Arizona.
Well, Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54. We're also streaming our show live on Facebook, so check us out and share our show with your friends. Find me on Twitter at VOA Vince McCory. Still to come, Africa 54. A non-invasive malaria test wins a team of young Ugandans an engineering prize. But first, a look at Tuesday's headlines.
In Cameroon, a large fundraising event takes place for the victims of conflict between the military and English-speaking separatists. In Zimbabwe, campaigning is in full force ahead of the July 30th election, which will be the first without former President Robert Mugabe. In Mauritania, the African Union holds a summit with French President Emmanuel Macron to discuss a joint G5 Sahel force. The French immigrant from Mali who scaled a Paris apartment building to save a young boy dangling from a balcony is now working for the city's fire department. Finally, in Tunisia, Souad Abderrahim makes history by being elected the first woman mayor of Tunis.
Well, it's time for a health report, and joining us now is Africa 54 health correspondent Lino Madu with the latest news on diabetes. Lino.
That's right. An 8-year study has shown that the Bacillus calamine-Guerin BCG vaccine against tuberculosis can reverse type 1 diabetes to almost undetectable levels. United States researcher found that just one shot, followed by a booster 4 weeks later, brought down average blood sugar levels to near normal within 3 years, and the effect lasted for the following 5 years. Type 1 diabetes is an autoimmune disease where the body attacks cells in the pancreas which produce insulin. Insulin is needed to move sugar from the blood to cells where it is used as energy. Used for almost a century to prevent tuberculosis, the team say BCG speeds up the rate by which cells convert glucose into energy. The new study involved 52 people with type 1 diabetes. The report was published in the Telegraph UK. Researchers in Japan say kids exposed to tobacco smoke in the womb and early in infancy could have double the odds of developing hearing loss compared with children who were not exposed to tobacco at all. The researcher examined data on over 50,000 children born between 2004 and 2010 in Kobe City, Japan. Overall, about 4% of these kids were exposed to smoking during pregnancy or infancy, and roughly 1% had tobacco used during both periods. They assessed children's hearing using a whisper test, during which mothers stand behind their kids to prevent lip reading, then whisper a word while the kid has one ear covered. The study found 68% of the children were more likely to have hearing loss if they were exposed to tobacco during pregnancy, and 30% more likely if they inhaled a secondhand smoke during infancy. The researchers suggest a woman should quit smoking before they become pregnant or as soon as they discover they are pregnant. Now, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime has released the 2018 World Drug Report, which states that global drug markets are expanding as cocaine and opium production worldwide has hit absolute record highs. The 2018 World Drug Report provides a global overview of the supply and demand of opiates, cocaine, cannabis, amphetamine, stimulants, and new psychoactive substances, as well as their impact on health. It highlights the different drug use patterns and vulnerabilities of particular age and gender group, and highlights the shift in the global drug market. The report found that cannabis was the most widely consumed drug in 2016, with 192 million people using it at least once, and opioid overdoses caused some 76% of drug-related death. Yuri Fedotov is Executive Director of the UN Office of Drugs and Crime.
Non-medical use of prescription drugs has reached epidemic proportions in some parts of the world. The opioid crisis, in particular the use of fentanyl and its analogs, has contributed to a 21% increase in the number of drug overdose deaths in the U.S. to more than 63,000.
And the executive director of the UN Office of Drugs and Crime adds that the impact on young people is especially worrisome and stresses the need for more action on prevention, treatment, and rehabilitation. Now, a team of 6 young Ugandan scientists won a prestigious engineering prize for a non-invasive rapid testing kit for malaria. Their hope will one day be widely used across Africa. The award by the Royal Academy of Engineering in Britain comes with nearly $33,000 in prize money. VOA's Mariama Diallo reports.
The reusable kit is known as Matibabu, Swahili for medical center. Its inventors say it can diagnose malaria in less than 2 minutes.
We are trying to bridge the gap between communities and the rightful access to malaria diagnosis.
Matibabu uses a light sensor instead of blood samples. Team members Shafiq Sekito and Brian Gita explain how the device works.
When a person is infected by malaria, the parasites in the blood change their chemical and physical properties. They change the shape of the cells, and there is a crystal that's emitted in the bloodstream. So we use light and magnets to differentiate between the blood that's infected and the blood that's normal.
Holding still for 2 minutes, the patient leaves their finger into the curvature for the device, and after the sampling, the results are sent to the laptop or to the phone to show whether you have malaria or not.
The head of the Ugandan National Drug Authority says this is a very promising development for his country, making it more likely that patients, particularly children, will use it.
Malaria is one of the major killer diseases in Uganda, and I think if this innovation is taken on board, one, it will not hurt the children.
The new test could be a game changer that helps reduce costs, but a physician at Nakasero Hospital in Kampala cautions that the device must be very accurate to be effective.
When we look at medical tests, we have something called sensitivity and specificity. Sensitivity means how likely is this test able to detect someone with malaria? Yes. Usually we want to aim for something above 95%, yes. The developers have talked about 80%.
80% of the world's malaria cases and deaths occur in sub-Saharan Africa. Officials and scientists hope this new test may reduce those numbers. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
That's our health report for today. To stay in touch, find me on Twitter at Lenore Moudou. Vincent, back to you.
Well, thanks a lot, Lenore. I'll be sure to watch Lenore Moudou's health reports every Tuesday and Thursday right here on Africa 54. Well, Senegal's national football team returned home from the World Cup last week after losing to Colombia and becoming the first country knocked out under new rules on discipline. Senegal's defeat means all 5 African teams have been eliminated from the World Cup's knockout stage for the first time since 1982. No team from the continent has made it to the second round. Sophia Christensen reports on the disappointment in Dakar and the performance of African football teams.
Senegal's football team was knocked out of the World Cup in Russia under a new tiebreaker rule on discipline called fair play.
We're so disappointed. We really wanted Senegal to win this match. It really hurts.
Nicknamed the Lions of Teranga, they are the first country to be eliminated over discipline and the last of 5 African teams to exit the competition. Retired footballer Mbaye Bachi blames limited funding and lack of practice for African teams' poor performance at the Games.
Look at Argentina, Brazil, France, Spain. These are all teams with experience. They each have at least 5 players who already participated in a World Cup.
Ils ont au moins 8 à 5 joueurs qui ont fait 3 à 4 Coupes du Monde.
Hopes were high for Senegal after it defeated Poland and tied with Japan, despite the loss to Colombia. But under the fair play rule, Senegal was eliminated for having more yellow cards than Japan. Senegal's Football Federation has asked FIFA to reconsider the new regulation, which some argue does not accurately judge a team based on their skills.
Technically and physically, Africa is ready, and I still trust we will be able to achieve something in the years to come.
The defeat in Russia is only the second time Senegal qualified for the World Cup. In 2002, they shocked the world by defeating France in the opening game and going all the way to the quarterfinals. Senegal's football fans maintain high hopes their players can one day get there again and perhaps make a drive for a World Cup title. Sophia Christensen, for VOA News, Dakar.
Well, for more on Africa in the World Cup, I'm joined by two of my colleagues, Mohamed El Shinawi, who recently returned from Moscow, where he watched the matches up close, and Abdurrahman Dia, who was in Dakar when Senegal lost to Colombia. Gentlemen, welcome to Africa 54.
Thank you.
So I want to start with you, Abdurrahman. In fact, how was it like first before Senegal played Colombia, and then what happened after?
Well, after the draw against Japan, people were starting to question the team. Like, they were very hopeful after the first game when they won against Poland, and then the draw came with Japan. So people were starting to lower expectations and saying, well, you know, anything could happen. Everybody were hopeful that they could go on to the next round, but they were starting to say, you know what, anything could happen because we lost the opportunity to win against Japan. Yeah. And, you know, what many were fearing actually happened with Colombia. They were not able to at least have a draw to make it to the next round. So there was a lot of disappointment. And people then actually took it with philosophy. They, you know, especially after yesterday's Japan game, which did very well, people were saying, you know, after all, you know, everybody is good when you go to the World Cup, so we need to accept that. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Mohamed, you were there, man. I wish I was in your bag, the traveling bag, because how was it like being in Moscow?
Well, being with the fans was quite a different experience, because the last time I watched World Cup was covering for the Voice of America as a correspondent in 1990 in Italy. But being with the fans, whether in the stadium, in the Fest Fan, and Moscow Strip, where everybody's mingling, it was quite a different experience, especially that the Egyptians were in large numbers. Yes. I was watching the Egyptian team, of course, and the estimated number of spectators is between 15 and 20,000 Egyptians.
Wow, and you know, that shows you the expectation that was there. So from what you were hearing, what happened with the Egyptian team, for example, one of the African teams that is out?
Well, the Egyptian team is like most Arab and African teams. They rely on one or two players, and they are not playing as a group. Unlike France. France has stars, but they play as a team. Yeah. So they relied heavily on the second game on Mohamed Salah, and even the coach, the Portuguese coach of the Egyptian team, said Mohamed Salah is a very good player, but he needs a team, and that was the problem.
Yes. Now, Abdurrahman, looking overall, I mean, this is the first time, as we mentioned, since 1982 that there's no African team that went beyond that stage. I mean, what were you hearing? Is it to do with continental unpreparedness, or was there something to do perhaps with people taking things for granted and assuming they will get there anyway?
It could be all of the above, actually, because individually they have very good players. They all play in Champions Leagues, the best, you know, leagues in Europe. But if you put them together as a team, they always have issues, and some are saying, you know, they didn't have enough time to prepare. Others were saying they might be personal issues. I remember in Senegal, before the World Cup, there was a lot of controversy on the choices that the coach made, Aliou Cissé. But then, you know, people came to understand his choices, but, you know, they were less forgiving when actually they lost. It was all on him, and they think that because he wasn't able to put together the best team together. So It's all of the above, but in my personal view, they need to work hard to get local players and not always rely on those who play in Europe. Yes. You know, they need local championships in order to do better.
Build the talent at home and just don't rely on guys coming back.
Right. They do, but they always send them to the European leagues. Right.
So Mohammed, first I see you have your ticket here, you have your ID. How was it even just getting to Moscow, getting to the venue of the game?
Well, they were very strict and organized about going to the gate and show the fan ID, and then they would scan it, and you show the ticket, they would scan it. If they are not corresponding to each other, you are not allowed.
Wow.
Then, if you have a banner, which I had, a banner from Mohamed Salah, and the guard said, you have to show me what is written on it. And it was in Arabic, the best player in English league. And then he said, I need a translation. And luckily, I had translation in Russian, English, and Spanish. And after he saw it, he said, excuse me, because we don't allow any racism into the... So that was
very interesting. Now, Abdurrahman, in terms of the future of the continent, I mean, what do you think are the lessons that could be taken from the really poor performance of all the African teams, and including those that didn't even make it in?
They need to understand that everyone is doing better, and they cannot stay behind. If they want something, they just... the governments in Africa, they put a lot of money for these teams to go to the World Cup. And in return, they expect, all this joy from the people. And, it does calm down the pressure. And I was interviewing one friend who was saying, during World Cup, we forgot about politics, all these controversies. So it does add a lot of positive vibes to the countries. But in exchange, they need to work harder and, be at the international level, just like the other teams. They cannot just go there just to participate. It is important to participate, but they need to up their games as well.
And Mohammed, what do you think, and including also this protest over the discipline kind of clause now, the rule of being disqualified or losing by discipline?
Actually, 2026 would be a golden opportunity for African and Arab teams in Africa to shine, because they will increase the number of participants from 5 to 9. But between now and then, we have to adopt a different approach to prepare the national teams in Africa, because out of frustration, fans said something very funny in Moscow. They said, FIFA is FIFA. It stands for football is not for Africans or Arabs.
But the truth is, we got to up our game ourselves. We have a lot of talent, and I think it behoves on the African governments and countries to support young talent, and hopefully we'll do much better in the future. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we look forward to that. Mohammed and Abdurrahman, Voice of America reporters, and thank you for giving us this fine analysis. Well... Welcome back to Africa 54, and here's what's trending. New technology could turn the saying, seeing is believing, on its head. So-called deep-fake videos use facial mapping and artificial intelligence to produce videos that appear so genuine, it is hard to spot the fakes. Deep-fakes are so named because they use deep learning, a form of machine learning. The computer program learns how to mimic that person's facial expressions, mannerisms, voice, and inflections. Politicians, intelligence officials, and others worry that these bogus videos could be used to threaten national security or interfere and manipulate elections. Well, next up, future tennis stars could potentially avoid months of sidelining following an injury with the help of motion capture technology. That's according to biomechanical experts from Britain. Using 3D optical tracking equipment similar to that used in Hollywood film production, and then applying their own computer algorithms, the team from Coventry University can measure the loads imposed on the body's joints, bones, and muscles. This data can then inform training methods to help improve player technique and avoid injury. The Coventry University team have previously demonstrated the Bob software to highlight the loads placed on the body during activities as varied as dancing, gardening, and even getting in and out of a car. Well, and finally, Amboseli's youngest residents are settling into life with their herd at Amboseli National Park in Kenya. Now 2 months old, the twin elephants stay close to their mom and big sister for safety. The male and female twins were delivered at the end of May during the rainy season by a 39-year-old Paro. Their mother, who belongs to a herd of 40 elephants, had, according to the Kenya Wildlife Service, a twin birth is a rare occurrence. Last happened in 1980 when another pair of twins, Equinox and Eclipse, were born. And that's what's trending, and that's our show. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night.
Welcome to English in a Minute. A lot of American English idioms refer to parts of the body.
Get off on the wrong foot.
Are Anna and Jonathan having trouble learning a dance? How did it go meeting your girlfriend's family?
Well, it was interesting. First, I was really late.
Oh, Jonathan.
Yeah, and then at dinner, I spilled my water all over her.
Every Thursday night on City TV, you're welcome to join women from different backgrounds and opinions as they weigh in on your relationship issues. Watch Sister Sister as the ladies get real with issues about love, marriage, betrayal, sex, dating, trust, finances, and more.
Sometimes some of the guys are like, oh no, they want to wait before they get married.
So there are little
response. Like, oh, I'm saying, hold on, ladies. What if she does all the kiss and all of that?
And still nothing.
That's it.
If he really wants you like that.
So it's like, oh.
Join Jessica and her sisters for City TV's all-women talk show, Sister Sister, every Thursday at 7 p.m. Also, live on 97.3 City FM.
The management...
Hello and welcome to 2020 News on City TV. I am Zoe Abubedu. Coming up, National Labour Commission directs striking Ayalolo bus drivers to return to work immediately. Also, freight forwarders in Sekondi Takoradi demand withdrawal of the cargo tracking note, citing confusion in its implementation. Details of the stories now. Now, the National Labour Commission has directed aggrieved drivers of Ayalolo buses under Greater Accra Passenger Transport Executive GAPTI to immediately call off their strike and resume work. The Commission also directs that the workers appear before it tomorrow, Thursday, for deliberations on the issues. In an urgent letter signed yesterday by the Commission's Director of Administration and Human Resources, Dr. Bernice Welbeck, and addressed to the interim management and workers of the company, the Commission confirmed that the concerns are currently before it for resolution. It, however, says it is surprised about the workers' decision to strike, since it had earlier directed the parties to submit their issues in dispute. Meanwhile, the management of the Greater Accra Passenger Transport Executive, operators of the intra-city transport services, Ayalolo, has expressed shock at the decision of its drivers to declare a sit-down strike over conditions of work.
The management says the concerns over which the drivers embarked on the strike have been brought before the National Labour Commission for determination. Drivers for the Ayalolo transport declared an indefinite sit-down strike to protest what they say are their deplorable conditions of service. They say they have not been paid for the past 5 months. This would be the third time Ayalolo drivers have embarked on such an action over unpaid salaries. The drivers who spoke to City Newsroom said talks with management to help create a union for their welfare have fallen on deaf ears. But communications manager at GAPT, Fred Chidi, tells City Newsroom the strike is uncalled for.
As we speak right now, the National Labour Commission has intervened in the matter, and the case is in arbitration right now. And it's of interest to note that it is the workers' group, actually, which reported this case to the Labour Commission. And Labour Commission has taken over the matter. The whole of June, we've been in arbitration over this matter until today. So we were surprised this morning when the drivers refused to work, because we would have thought that we would have gone through the process and then the Labour Commission would have ruled on the matter, then we will see the way forward.
The government has cut sod for the construction of the 3-tier Pokwase interchange and 5-kilometer Awoshi-Pokwase road. This, the government contends, has become necessary due to the overwhelming traffic congestion at Pokwase during peak hours.
The construction of the interchange will completely ease traffic congestion and improve urban mobility, among others. The project, which is expected to be completed by April 2020, is being executed by the Messrs. Zongmei Engineering Group Limited. Speaking at the sword-cutting ceremony, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Amakwata, said the 2-year project was part of government's Accra Urban Transport Project, which seeks to address the traffic challenge in the capital.
All these benefits assist in meeting the project development objectives of the Accra Urban Transport Project. My ministry, therefore, in line with the government's commitment in improving the country's road infrastructure, is also undertaking some other major projects in the capital city this year. These are, I believe, this is going to grab in the hearts of the regional minister and all those who live in your region. A new underpass has just been completed in relatively record time at East Legon, and I must put it on record that this facility is unprecedented, as it is the first vehicular tunnel in the history of this country.
Some road users were optimistic that the project, upon completion, will reduce their travel time.
Oh, I spend sometimes I have to hold on in the office for up to 9 to 10 o'clock before driving out of the office. And particularly when you get to the ACP here, you come and be in the traffic. So I believe if it works well, I will save not less than 1 hour. And also me driving from the office also will be earlier than I used to.
I heard it's going to help because we are facing a lot of traffic over here. Every day we used to face a lot of traffic, very huge traffic here. So I believe the overhead is going to help.
Let's move to the Western region now, where freight forwarders in Sekondi Takoradi are demanding a withdrawal of the cargo tracking note over what they call confusion that has clouded its implementation. At an emergency meeting, the group also raised concerns over the extra cost importers have to bear following the implementation. City Newsroom's Akwesi Ej Enim has this report from the Western region.
Government, in its effort to improve turnaround time in doing business at the various ports, set out to commence the implementation of the cargo tracking note as well as the joint port inspection that reduces the 16 various inspection agencies to just 3. Thus, Food and Drugs Authority, Ghana Revenue Authority, and the Ghana Standards Authority. To appreciate the commencement of the policy on Tuesday, July 3rd, I visited the Takoradi Harbour's main container terminal, Takotel. So this is the Takoradi container terminal here in Takoradi that receives general goods imported to the Takoradi port, stores them and give it out after inspection has been carried out. And here you can see inspection taking place by authorities over here. But I want to find out from the operations manager here at the Takoradi container terminal, also called Takotel, to tell me exactly what is going on behind us. Sir, what is going on behind us?
Okay, currently, as you can see, we are divining 1 by 40 feet container. The custom officers have been here to inspect the seal, check their documents with the GSA, FDA, and then GRA before the container was opened.
Though the terminal manager, Richmond Appiah, is optimistic about the impact of the new policy on revenue and general doing of business, he's yet to be officially notified.
If you channel your cargo through the ports, and this time you have a lesser time to just clear, I mean, it's going to enhance other people's business. But I'm here to be informed officially, I mean, by Ghana Revenue Authority, Customs Division.
When the Takoradi Customs Sector Command was contacted on the commencement of the policy, the command also said they are yet to receive formal notification from the head office. Meanwhile, at the Sekandi Takoradi district of the Ghana Freight Forwarders Association office, tension was heightening as members demanded the suspension of the cargo tracking notes, though they supported the joint port inspection.
There's a new implementation coming up called the Cursor D11, which is an upgraded version of the CTN, which even captures more information and in detail than the CTN. And even the Cursor D11 comes up with no cost to the trader. So we would recommend that government should rather focus on this Cursor D11 and then neglect the CTN, which is going to increase the cost of doing business at the port.
Reporting from Takoradi for City Newsroom, I am Akwesi Ajay Enim.
Now, the Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Kofi Adda, has hinted at plans to roll out a zero landfill site policy in the country. This policy is expected to see the shutdown of some major landfill sites. Speaking at the inauguration of a 7-member board to oversee the affairs of JVL Fortifier Compost Plant, the sector minister said the move will help address the sanitation menace. You're still watching 2020 News on City TV. Still to come, prices of foodstuff expected to go up this month. We will tell you why after this break. Don't go away.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guests, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
What one action have you taken? What one statement have you issued?
Well, we've been issuing statements, even this...
on the specific issue of...
This very one.
Of no bed syndrome. Since you are saying that you've heard this before.
Well, we keep talking.
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
You all come back. My name is Zoe Abubedo and you're still watching 2020 News on CTTV. Up next is the business news with Jessica Ayokwai.
You're welcome to the business segment on 2020 News. I am Jessica Ayokwai. Let's head to the commodities market where prices of foodstuff are expected to go up this month as challenges facing the agriculture sector remain unresolved. Now, market figures released by Isoko Ghana show that the prices of food commodities went up last month, with prices increasing by as much as 14%. But Isoko maintains that the trend is expected to continue due to the perennial challenges confronting the agri sector.
Out of the 12 commodities surveyed, 8 recorded increase in prices, while the prices of 4 dropped. For last month, yam recorded the highest gain of 14%. A sack of the commodity is now selling at 692 cedis from the 607 cedis that it was selling in May. Maize, local rice and cowpea followed, with increase in prices ranging between 3 and 7%. A 100-kilogram bag each of maize and rice went up from 155 to 166 cedis and from 332 to 347 cedis, respectively. In addition, a 109-kilogram bag of cowpea increased from 366 to 379 cedis between May and June. Also, the prices of shelled groundnuts and millet increased to 398 and 254 cedis, respectively. On commodities whose prices dropped, tomato recorded the highest drop of 28.16%. You are likely to buy a 72-kilogram crate of the commodity for 316 cedis. Similarly, a 68-kilogram of gari could be sold to you at 195 cedis, with 91-kilogram bag of fresh tubers of cassava going for 71 cedis. But the future doesn't look pleasant for prices of foodstuffs, as the content manager at Isoko Ghana, Francis Dansweje, explains that the general trend of price increases for most commodities is expected to continue this month.
Let's get you some other stories. And traders and importers who conduct business along the Ghana-Burkina Faso corridor will henceforth be relieved of the constraints impeding transport of goods. Now, this follows the rollout of the Single Transit Guarantee Scheme. Per the scheme, traders and importers will pay a single premium on the onset of a journey to cover the entire movement of goods on the corridor. Here is Anita Arthur's report.
Speaking after signing an MOU between Ghana and Burkina Faso Chamber of Commerce, Managing Director of SIC Insurance, Stephen Odro, said the scheme will also ensure custom officials receive accurate payments on duty